Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
If you look for it, every day has cause for celebration. Celebrate a friend for their promotion, baby wedding, life thing. Celebrate yourself for keeping the couch warm. It's no easy feat, especially if it's a big couch. Or maybe you just want to celebrate living in 2022, where you can get beer, wine, and spirits delivered from Drizzly in under 60 minutes without leaving said couch. So download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And get your favorite drinks delivered today.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
Hey, star-making performance.
She's not wrong.
The show's doing .11. Nobody watches the show. Less people watch the show now than were watching it before her star-making performance.
And Rich Prage.
I believe you're indifferent on apples. That's what a great fruit that you're just letting go by the wayside.
What is your fascination with apples?
They're fantastic. It's the fall. It's the apple season, man. And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening?
All right, let's go.
Let's do this. So, all right, I'm going to start out with a, I don't know if it's a question or just something that for you to ponder here. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, I told you I was no longer going to ask you if you cared about Dominic Mysterio, right? I had asked you for 2 straight years, every time we reviewed a World Wrestling Entertainment Premium Live event, and you would tell me, Rich, I am never going to care about Dominic Mysterio, correct? Am I right? Not a Mandela effect. I'm correct that happened for 2 straight years, basically.
It's been a running bit, yes.
A bit. Well, not a bit to me. I personally, I want to know if you care. So to me, it's not like but anyway.
Well, I don't mean to hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. So, I apologize for calling it a bit, since you seem to care very much.
I do.
About this.
I care about you caring about Dominic Mysterio. I personally don't care about Dominic Mysterio, but I care that if you care about Dominic Mysterio. But okay. Right. I have something for you. I have a proposition, a proposal for you, Joe, about Dominic Mysterio. So last week, I received a care package from Flagship guest host, longtime listener, Aaron Quinn, Miss Aaron Quinn on Twitter. So now this package contained a very rare Baja Mountain Dew that she received by signing up, and only people that signed up and only a select amount of people that signed up received the 6-pack of this rare Mountain Dew. So when I knew that she had it, I said, hey, I will pay whatever fee you would like to have this Baja, because I didn't get one and I want one, mostly for content on the Patreon, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, flagshippatreon.com, but also because I want one. So, because, why does she get one and I don't? I kind of felt jealous. I had a little bit of FOMO, Joe, that these other people have this special Baja and I don't. So Aaron and I, we negotiated a price, a very fair price, I believe, because these things were going for, a pretty penny on eBay. I don't know how much of those were actually being sold on eBay and how many of those were just like ridiculous prices that people were hoping got paid. But I paid, I think, a fair market rate for this special can of Baja.
I hope Aaron shook you down for
no, do not worry. I got every, a fair price to Aaron. I don't know if I paid a fair price, but no, I got shook down for a pretty penny there on that Baja. But that's fine, because it came in a very nice package, and now I have it, and now I'm going to drink it and review it for the Patreon at some point. But for the price that I paid, I got bonus gifts, Joe. I got World Wrestling Entertainment trading cards. All right.
Oh.
I have, thanks to Aaron Quinn. Well, actually, one's a WCW trading card. I got a Z-Man Tom Zank trading card. On the back, his motto says, "Stay single." I don't know what that
is. Is that a 1992 WCW
91,
card?
and you know exactly which one it is. Close your eyes. It's got the yellow background with like the little sprinkles and stuff on it. It's great. But yeah, it says motto, stay single. So there you go.
Yeah. It's not the worst advice.
This former Mr. Minnesota promises to be a strong contender. So there you go. That is the Z-Man.
It didn't work out.
It did not work out for the Z-Man. Yeah, staying single didn't work out, and nor did he says here, I'm starting at the bottom and working my way to the top. I don't care who has the belts, Luger, Flair. I don't care who it is. I'm here to make a name for myself, and so far, it looks like he will.
Starting at the bottom. What is he, Drake? What's going on?
So I also received a WWE legend Leilani Kai card. Yes, WWE legend Leilani Kai.
Now, hard to dispute.
Yeah, a lot of stuff about the Glamour Girls on the back of this card, and be remiss if I didn't plug the Joshi and the WWF Patreon show that we did, the deep dive. Going on in Joshi and the WWF. A lot of Glamour Girls in that. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, flagship Patreon.com.
She held plenty of WWF.
Absolutely.
Gold.
Yeah, I call her a legend.
Worked a WrestleMania or two or one.
Leilani's portfolio of work in WWE includes both a women's championship reign and 2 women's tag team title reigns.
That's right. Plenty of gold.
Yep. So there you go.
More gold than Roddy Piper.
Damn right. That's
a fact.
That is true.
Yeah.
Only IC title, right, for Roddy? That's it?
That's it. More gold than Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, didn't want to carry it around. He had nothing, right?
Who held nothing?
Yeah, he didn't want any belts. He had no time.
You go right down the line. More gold than Paul Orndorff.
Yeah.
Many top stars. More gold than the Junkyard Dog.
So now, also in this package, I have seen. I don't know if you've seen this on Discord. I believe Aaron shared it. She has an ungodly amount of Shanky cards. Your boy Shanky.
Well,
she owns pretty much every Shanky card. That could be I'm not kidding you, 30 Shanky cards. So I assumed I was going to get a Shanky card here.
And you did, I hope.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Owning dozens upon dozens of
the whole lot
of Shanky cards is the most Aaron Quinn thing possible.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't surprise me at all. The skyscraping dancing Shanky.
There's so many different varieties too. It's like, why'd you make so many Shanky cards? There's like 7 variants of the same card. I'm just wondering why. Who?
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you, it's like opening up a pack of Topps baseball, and you get Skip Schumacher every time.
Right.
They got to load you up with the commons. So that's Shanky is Skip Schumacher.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not receive a Shanky card from Aaron Quinn. Those are apparently big money, or it's a collection she does not want to part with, so I did not get a Shanky card. Yeah, I felt a little...
Honestly, not surprising.
Right. Sends me a picture of all the Shanky cards, and then doesn't send me a Shanky card. Again, exactly the behavior from one Aaron Quinn. But, Joe, I received not 1, not 2, but 3 Dominic Mysterio cards, okay? So I will try my last attempt to get you to care about Dominic Mysterio as I'm going to read the back of these Dominic Mysterio cards, and you tell me if after this card is completed, you now care about Dominic Mysterio, or if you're going to hold strong and not care about Dominic Mysterio. Okay?
All right. What I thought you were going to say is, what I'm going to do, Joe, is send you these Dominic Mysterio cards.
Desperate times can call for desperate measures. If I go for 3, there's a good chance these get put in the mail. So,
and what I was going to say is that will quite literally be the worst thing I get in the mail, and I have received death threats in the mail. So that was going to be my response to that. But go ahead, carry on.
Well, I mean, you can send your address to Erin and let her decide what she does with that. But anyway. Actually, I don't think she's very far from you anymore, is she? She might be able to drive him over. Anyway.
Drive it over.
What?
I said she could drive it over.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think she's pretty close now. So, that's careful what you ask for. All right, first we have a Dominic Mysterio Topps card here. Old Topps WWE SmackDown card. It says, growing up the son of sports entertainment legend Rey Mysterio has given Dominic Mysterio a lifetime of preparation for his in-ring career. With unparalleled talent, Dominic had an impressive rookie year in WWE, defending his family honor against the likes of King Corbin and Seth Rollins. Breaking out on his own, Dominic is ready to prove himself. Good rookie year. Obviously,
can't a load of horse shit to me.
Can't dispute that. Great rookie year.
He had
defended his family's honor against King Corbin. Who could forget? Who could possibly forget?
I forgot. I don't remember that.
I don't remember the King Corbin thing. I remember the Rollins thing.
That could be totally made up. He had a good, highly practiced and rehearsed debut match, and it's been all straight off a cliff from there. I don't even remember this Corbin match.
I don't either. I remember the Rollins thing, of course. I do not remember him defending his family honor against one King
Should
Corbin.
We do a deep dive, Dominic versus Baron Corbin?
Not the worst idea. A deep dive on Dominic's might not be a bad idea. Think about it. We'll think about it. All right, so the next one here it's kind of a retro-looking card here. It's a SmackDown Dominic Mysterio. He's in street clothes in this one. All right, so sorry, you do not care about Dominic Mysterio anymore than you did before, right? After that card?
No!
Okay, all right. So that card off to the side to get put in an envelope to get sent to Joe. All right, Dominic Mysterio flew onto the WWE scene defending his father, Rey Mysterio, from Brock Lesnar. Since then, Dominic Mysterio has become a successful superstar. He battled the Messiah, Seth Rollins, and Rollins' then disciple Murphy, showing his strength when that duo brutally attacked him. After overcoming them, Dominic is looking ahead to a bright future.
Why does it say then disciple Murphy?
Whatever happened? How did that story end with Murphy? Did he ever break away from him, or did he just get fired in the midst of?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either.
But why would it say then disciple Murphy? Everything they're talking about on these cards is eventually going to be out of date. Eventually, like why?
Yeah, you would have to say then the Messiah, Seth Rollins, and then King Corbin. Yeah, it is a strange.
It's weird that they did that.
It is
right.
It is a little strange.
Yeah. No, but I still don't care.
Still don't care. Okay.
Yeah,
now this card is awesome. So this is it's a Vortex card. It's a Revolution Vortex card. It's shiny. I don't know. It's real shiny. That's all I know. It's pretty. It's thicker than the other cards. You hear that? That's a thick sounding card. And he's on Raw now in this card. Those other two are SmackDown cards. Those are old. Oh. Those are old Dominic. We don't care about old Dom. We care about new Dom.
That's
Raw
then
Dom.
Dominic. Then Dominic.
Right. All right. Oh, this is also a Panini card, not the sandwich. A Panini.
Oh, different brand now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dominic Mysterio is making his way through WWE at a rapid clip.
Oh, God.
Royal Rumble 2022 marked his first appearance in the annual tradition. And while he did not win the Rumble like his father did in 2006, it was nonetheless a valuable learning experience for the younger Mysterio.
Was he even in the Rumble? I don't remember.
So that was my follow-up is like, I don't remember Dominic Mysterio in the 2022 Rumble. So they say there that Dominic Mysterio had, what did they say? He did not win it, but he had a valuable experience, right? Was their words?
Yeah.
So he was in for 3 minutes. Not great. Yeah. He was one of 7 guys to throw out Omos. And then he got thrown out by Happy Corbin in 3 minutes and 44 seconds. I don't know how much he learned.
I have to say, is there something going on where I just memory wipe everything involving Dominic? I remember none of this.
I don't remember any of that either. I think we have a memory wipe on everything with WWE. It is remarkable that you and I could probably list like every tag team champion from 1975 through 1998 or whatever, like by memory. We might even be able to tell you what shows they lost. I couldn't say the Royal Rumble from 10 months ago.
This year,
no clue. Zero clue. Happy
I honestly
Corbin.
Can't remember who won it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to take a guess on who won this year's Royal Rumble
give
match?
It some thought. Well, all right. Well, let's work backwards. What was the WrestleMania main event?
That was my. Our next problem is I don't remember what that was either. Do you?
It was. Well, it was.
I'm sure it was Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns or something, right? I think it was. Wasn't it Brock and Roman? It's always Brock and Roman.
That was SummerSlam.
No, it was WrestleMania too, I think. Well, the night one, the WrestleMania Saturday was, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens in a match that we're all calling a match, even though it's very clearly not a match, but we're all going to still call it a match. So
yeah, it was, and then night 2 was Brock and Roman.
Yeah, see,
right?
Yeah.
But did Brock win the Royal Rumble? I honestly can't remember.
Brock did win the Royal Rumble. At the expense of this segment going on way too long, Brock did indeed. Brock Lesnar won the men's and Ronda Rousey won the women's Royal Rumble. That was the Royal Rumble was the one where Shane McMahon came out and like rebooked the entire match on the fly. Came out like 28 and did a bunch of and then things all went awry after.
That wasn't the cool Rumble where Brock just tossed everyone.
No. That was a couple years ago. The one where he's just dancing in the ring as he's throwing guys out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't that Rumble. He came out 30th and just won in like 2 minutes is how this one went.
I don't remember a goddamn thing about the end of this year's Rumble.
Yeah, he came out and it looks like he eliminated Bad Bunny. That's when Bad Bunny was like legit the best worker in the entire match. Remember that? It was a boring as fuck Rumble. It was so boring. And then Bad Bunny came out and like did the most exciting stuff of the entire match. So Brock came in, he eliminated Bad Bunny, Shane McMahon, and Randy Orton to win the Royal Rumble.
All right, I'll take your word for that.
I'm sure you I'm not lying. So
I'll take your word for that.
Yep.
There you go. He should win it again, probably.
He should win it every year forever. I love the Brock stuff. We remain the only people in the world that love when Brock comes in and just dominates everybody. Everybody gets mad. Everybody starts wringing their hands and going, "Oh, this is ridiculous!" But he just comes in with his little ponytail. F5, some people wins the Rumble, main events, all the big shows, and then bounces and then leaves. And then time for a Saudi payday. Hey, Brock Lesnar's here. Hey, SummerSlam's here. Hey, how's it going? I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with Brock.
He's exciting. He's better than all the other fucking duds on the roster, including one Dom Mysterio. So after the Vortex Revolution card, where are you at with Dom?
No, not even close. Why would I?
Damn it.
No.
So
it's bothersome because there's a lot of like ironic enjoyment of Dom Mysterio right now.
It's very sad. I knew it was going to come at some point. So it started. If people don't remember the Dom Mysterio path, it started with, whoa, Dom's really good, like what a rookie, because he had that match with Seth Rollins, and then it was like, all right, we have to. And I think you and I on the podcast were like, it was good, it was fine, but it was clear that it was all rehearsed and like, okay, I think we even said, what's he gonna do when he's in like a normal match or a match where he's got 5 minutes on TV against somebody he's never worked before.
In front of fans.
Of course, in front of fans, and then everybody just decided, okay, never mind, Dominic's pretty terrible, actually. But yeah, you're right. Over the last 6 months, there's become like a rubber banding on that. And now people are like, no, Dom's actually good. And now that he's doing this Judgment Day stuff, it started ironic, and now it's like working its way to unironic, which is a very sad.
It's funny because he was one of the few WWE acts where even the hardcore WWE fans were like, yeah, this guy sucks, right? Ironically, Hit Row has reached that level now too. I don't know if you've been following that.
Oh, where everybody thinks they stink. Yeah,
everybody thinks they're terrible.
Not good on Fridays for old Hit Row.
No, and I mean among the core fan base is like, oh man, Hit Row fucking sucks. No swerve, no buys. You know what I mean? But this Dominic thing, everyone kind of agreed that he stunk. Then the heel turn, and now there's like this ironic praise of him going around. He's still awful. I mean, now he's Subanik, and now he, wears black and eyeliner, and but he's still terrible at literally everything. And I think now Judgment Day and Dom legitimately get tons of heat. There's no doubt about that. I think what that's a result of is, again, the fans really never liked Dom, but he was attached to Ray, and you were supposed to like him, right? But now they have the go-ahead to boo him.
Right.
So now it's working because it's like they never liked him to begin with. They all think he sucks. But now they have the permission of the company to boo him, and that's what they're doing. Because one thing that's
a very smart way to use him, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No, without question.
Bad on purpose is a good way to use Dom Mysterio, for sure.
Because he's never going to be an effective babyface. They know that he stinks. So one thing that's happened in WWE over the last 18 to 24 months is they really did successfully run off the common wrestling fan, all of them. And what they were left with was 1.8 to 2 million hardcore WWE fans. That's why the Raw after WrestleMania no longer has the same dynamic it used to have. That's why they don't get as many quote-unquote bizarro world crowds anymore. That's why the fans generally cheer for who they're supposed to cheer for and boo who they're supposed to boo, because they're down to their base. The people who truly like the product and don't want to revolt against it or reject it. That's why you don't get CM Punk chants. That's why all of these things have gone away, because all of the people who were doing those things, people flying in for WrestleMania from Europe and wrestling fans are just holding on hope that this was going to ever get any better, they're gone. AEW has expedited that to some extent because people have an option now with American wrestling. But and Vince's terrible product, they're all gone. So that coming back to Dominic, these are all people who were being polite about Dominic. They knew they didn't like him. They knew he sucked. But now the company has given them permission to hate the guy. So that's my psychology behind it. I think that's why Dominic and Judgment Day get so much, heat. And as a result, that's why we're kind of seeing this ironic, oh, Dominic's good. Well, he gets heat. That's all that matters. He still sucks. He's terrible at everything. He's not good at any facet of pro wrestling. And he's arguably the worst person that company has ever employed. But, like you just said, they have positioned him and in the perfect way possible to get anything out of him, because they weren't going to get anything out of him otherwise.
So there you go. Sounds like I'm going to be honest. For a man who doesn't care about Dominic, it sounds like you've built up a.
No, you haven't tricked me here.
Quite the headcanon. I'm just saying you went on a 10-minute unreally. I mean, I didn't really set you. I guess I set you up for it, I suppose. But man, it seems like I don't know.
There's no headcanon. This is.
It just sounds like somebody who might care about Dominic. That's all I'm saying.
This is the top tier analysis that people show up to hear. That's what it is. There's no headcanon. I just gave you the perfect synopsis of why he's over as a heel. And, of course, like usual, it's objectively correct.
There it is.
Why are we opening up with Dominic?
I just thought it was going to be a little bit. Then you went into the deep dive into Dominic's career and why he's getting it. But no, we are going to talk about more important wrestling this week. I do promise you that. We have a lot to get to. We have an NXT Network Special. Gosh darn it, Joe. It just so happens to be on the same day as ROH Final Battle. It's happened. The worst luck WWE has with scheduling these events the same day that other shows of their competition are on. But they did it yet again here. So we'll talk about that. WWE Day 1 is no more. Possibly forever. Potentially forever. Sounds like it might be forever. Hangman Page will do the update on his injury for what we know from what happened in the main event, of course, of Dynamite this week. Ace Steel is gone from AEW. We talked about this a little bit in our Instant Reaction Live, that it felt like some dominoes were beginning to fall in the Brawl Out situation, the CM Punk Young Bucks situation, and now it looks like that's the first one to fall. Ace Steel gone from AEW. And then we also mentioned on that show how there was a little thawing here and there of this situation with Punk showing up on a video and the Elite being mentioned by name. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show. TripleMania, Mexico City, the final TripleMania of the year. I had to qualify it that way because there's been multiple TripleManias this year, but we watched this show. We will recap this. You watched the entire show like an absolute maniac. I watched the last 3 matches of TripleMania. So we will review and talk about that. Karl Anderson in New Japan, he is booked. Machine Gunka is double booked. He's doing the Saudi Arabia show, and he's supposed to be doing Battle Autumn. Well, one of those made the cuts, and the other one is not happening. We'll tell you which one that is. You could probably guess which one that is. We'll also discuss some stuff going on in and around the podcast and in and around the voiceswrestling.com as well. The Wrestling 101 project that we just launched a couple weeks ago. Little details about that. We'll discuss that whole project and why you should probably check that out. Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame season as well, which means we'll be doing our usual Hall of Fame coverage at flagshippatreon.com. But we'll touch on the rule changes with that ballot, kind of get you up to speed. And then, obviously, if you want to hear more about that, we're going to do a ton over on flagshippatreon.com. But let's start out here with Dynamite this week and the head-to-head ratings battle with NXT. So they were obviously both on Tuesday this week, with Dynamite being moved over. We did an extensive review of that show at flagshippatreon.com, Instant Reaction Live, AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. So if you want that, it was like 2 hours or 2+ hours. It was pretty long of us recapping that entire show, discussing the career arc of MJF, like where we see him in the future, the Hangman Page injury, all the other stuff. But that is all there on flagshippatreon.com, $10 tier, Instant Reaction Live. for AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. But let's talk ratings here.
That's why there was no Thursday Dynamite review for people who might be wondering, because I wasn't going to review the show twice in a span of like 10 hours. So it's on the $10 tier this week, the Instant Reaction Live. Also, if you are a non-subscriber, there's a little teaser if you go on our YouTube page where you can listen to our deconstruction of the MJF William Regal promo. You can listen to that for free on our YouTube page.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes or so. So you're getting a good chunk of it there. But obviously, if you want the rest of the show, that is at Flagship Patreon. But we're trying to do that a little bit more. Grab these 10 to 15, 20-minute clips and put them on YouTube so that you guys can get a little bit of a preview of what we talk about, what we're doing, some of our things that we're pretty proud of that we think a lot more people should check out and should listen to, and make sure you spread the word. Let people know about it as well. We're trying to grow the podcast as much as we can, and YouTube's kind of a way that we're hoping to do so moving forward. So yeah, obviously like, share, all that other stuff that you can do to help us out. Subscribe.
Hey, listen. We don't typically do this, but fuck it, let's do this. Last month, want to thank everybody. Our most successful month behind the paywall in our history. And that is... Can we say that, Rich?
Absolutely, you can say it. And what's
we don't typically do that.
We don't. We don't
come out and tell everybody about every benchmark we clear or any of this, but last month was our most successful month in terms of total subscribers, in terms of total revenue behind the paywall. So we want to thank every single subscriber who helped us achieve that. And, subscribers come and go, and that's cool. We've always said, come in for the shit you want to hear. We understand that, everybody works hard for their money. You can dip in and out. We're cool with that. But last month, for whatever reason, whether it was All Out, whether it was just some of the other, whatever the reason was, our most successful month ever, from all facets, from all angles, from all statistical angles. So thank everybody for that. And if you are someone who hasn't been subscribed for a while, has been thinking about subscribing, you may as well jump in, because we also have the anniversary billing, which we've been pushing the last couple of weeks. So that's a big change. You don't have to worry about what time of month it is anymore. You could just subscribe, and you're good for 30 days, and you're going to get charged again on that same date the following month. So easier for us, easier for you, better for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. And one more thing about that, that record month is, you and I had discussions about this a lot, that last year's All Out, we basically considered, okay, let's never care about that month ever again. Yeah. That was the best month we were ever going to have. It was so far and away better
because of Punk's return.
Yeah, Punk came back. Danielson came back. That show was incredible. We did the Instant Reaction Live. That we got a ton. And you and I basically said, okay, moving forward,
it's an anomaly.
Let's take this month out of our listings.
Analysis.
Because, we're just, because it's no point in trying to chase that ever again. Like, we're never going to hit that mark ever again. There's no point in even considering it. We did it. We beat it without even really trying to, with that. I kept saying, are you kidding? No, there's no way, Joe. We beat last year's All Out. Yes, we did. And that to me is unbelievable, because that was a month that we just considered, forget it. We're not even going to ever try to get there ever again. It's never going to happen. And kind of casually, we did. So yeah, we want to thank all you guys for doing that and spreading the word about it, because obviously we're not on Twitter anymore, but it shows the power of word of mouth, and it shows the power of the content, that people like the content. It's good content, and they find it and they stick around. So that's good.
And it shows how overrated Twitter is in building an audience, because our audience is bigger than ever in every respect. Show downloads, paywall. And we haven't been on Twitter.
Turkey, number one in Turkey,
and we haven't been on Twitter in over a year. We haven't tweeted anything but links for over a year, and every single facet of our business is higher than it's ever been. People can, take that however they want. It's been a shock to me too, but yeah, just thank everybody for that. It was funny. We would always throw that month. Every month we'd analyze how we did behind the paywall, and we wouldn't even count that month from last year because it was so ridiculous and such an anomaly, and we actually managed to beat it this past month. So again, we don't like to do this very often. We very, very rarely talk about this, but I just wanted to thank everybody for the record month last month.
Absolutely. And thanks CM Punk as well. He's in the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast, whatever the hell, Hall of Fame for us, because anytime he's doing shit, people like to listen. So he made this whole thing is because of him too. So
God, I hope that guy comes back.
Yeah, he's a money train for us.
You want to talk about putting food on the table? It's all about Punk. My God. Maybe that's the psychology behind why I'm not so hard on him for Brawl Out, right? Maybe there's something.
Yeah, because you're like, I kind of see his side of the story. Like everybody else is like, this unhinged maniac must be fired and never brought to wrestling ever again. And you're like, I don't know. There's some truth to it.
I'm like, listen, let's listen to Phil's side of things. You know, Phil makes some good points. Let's consider what Phil has to say. Right?
He's gulping down, his seltzers and eating his cupcakes.
Yeah. Maybe there's a part of me that's why I've been, that could be part of the reason here.
I'm sure it is. But there you go. Yeah, that is that. So move on now to the, as we said, the AEW Dynamite versus NXT Tuesday night ratings battle. This data comes from WrestleNomics. AEW Dynamite preempted last night on TBS at 8 p.m. Obviously went to the Tuesday, moving from Wednesday to Tuesday. Was watched by 752,000 viewers on average for a .26 18-49 rating. WWE NXT on USA Network was watched by 676,000 viewers on average for a .18 in the 18-49. Dynamite ranked number 8 in 18-49 among cable originals. NXT ranked number 12 in 18-49 among cable originals. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes, big numbers there. What were your reactions to seeing those numbers, and are they about where you thought they were going to be? I think it's not that far off from that prediction that you made on the Instant Reaction Live. So maybe we'll have to bring that audio back, because you said if you were right, we could bring that back and everybody could listen to it. I think you were pretty close, to be honest.
It's actually, pretty close. Yeah. I think I said 770.28, and it ended up being 752.26 for Dynamite. I was a little I think I said 0.19 for NXT maybe, and 720. And then I said, wait, 720 is way too high. And then it ended up being 676. So thank you, Rich, for allowing me to pat myself on the back.
Of course, yeah. You usually don't need an excuse, but you didn't seem to say anything. So I was like, all right, never mind. I'll see what.
Well, I'm a humble man, so I was going to lay low on that, but I appreciate the setup there. No, listen, there's no other way to analyze these numbers for both shows other than that these weren't good numbers. For both of these shows, doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay, for Dynamite to do a 0.26, and for NXT may have been up from the week before with that 0.18. Weren't they at a 0.16
let me get
or
the
a 0.17 the week before?
I think that this was a good number for NXT. Let me get the exact week to week date. I'll get that in a second for you. But go on.
So for NXT to be up, which I think that they were in the 18-49. First of all, going head-to-head with Dynamite, who beat the shit out of them for 18 months straight until they ran with their tails between their legs to get away from them.
Up 18%.
Plus
up 18% week over week. Down 8% in total viewership, up 18% in 18-49. So that was just people. I think what you can take from that is people were just watching wrestling and switching back and forth between the two type of stuff.
That's exactly it. And to be up, going head-to-head with Dynamite and going head-to-head with the NBA season tip-off, the MLB playoffs, and NHL games, that's an excellent number for NXT, and I thought it was a very good number for Dynamite, too, to hold up as well as they did. Again, any other analysis other than that is just completely off base in my mind, because that's as stiff as the competition gets. And in terms of Dynamite, they switched nights on top of everything else. Not only were they going up head-to-head with another wrestling show, not only were they going up against, 3 major sports leagues, they also had the disadvantage of switching nights, and we know historically what switching nights does to these shows. In fact, if you compare this Dynamite number to other times that the show switched nights, they smoked a lot of those other numbers, and with far more competition, including competition from NXT. So, no other way to slice it. Both shows held up tremendously well. And, quite honestly, they should have, because Dynamite obviously loaded up their show. They did 4 championship matches, a world title match. NXT brought in all of the reinforcements from the main roster. Now, the inside word is that they very badly wanted to make a statement and beat Dynamite, because this was a good opportunity to catch them. You have them switching nights. You're going head-to-head. You're bringing in people from the main roster. And both shows are going to get slaughtered by the sports competition. So it was a good opportunity. But in my view, if they really wanted to beat AEW, they didn't bring in big enough stars from the main roster, in my view. I'm sure the people that they brought in helped to some degree, but they could have made a stronger challenge, I think, if they really brought in the big guns. Fuck it. Bring Roman Reigns in. I mean, just, you know what I mean? Like,
we said the same stuff when the original kind of quote-unquote war was happening, is that, you know, NXT, there was always this big talk and this big game of, oh, we're going to try to compete, we're going to try to beat AEW. But then it was like, you know, it's Finn Balor and Dolph Ziggler and stuff. It's like, no, if you guys really want, I mean, you could. It's not, I don't think, like in those original early days of that early head-to-head, I don't think it would have been that hard to beat AEW if you were NXT, if you bring out the big guys. Like you said, if Roman Reigns shows up in the show, and we said that like the first week, fucking put Roman Reigns out there, put everything that you could possibly do and set the stage for, you know, to beat them. That if it's so important to beat them that 1 week, which it clearly is enough to, you know, kind of semi load up the show as they did this week. Yeah, you got to do more than Sonya Deville and, you know, Gallows and Anderson and stuff. It's like, all right, come on, like there's ways to do it, and it's weird because they always have this idea that like it's not going to take that much for us to beat AEW. And it's one of the problems that sunk them in the original wars. They thought, all right, we'll bring the B team, or we'll bring, you know, the developmental, we'll be fine, we'll be okay, we'll beat them. And then they didn't. You know, they got their doors blown off as many times as they did, and then it just never worked. And then they, you know, would obviously go back and be, oh yeah, you know, it was developmental they beat and all that sort of stuff. But internally, they wanted to beat AEW. They wanted to, and that was the goal, but they never wanted to go all the way into doing it. They never really tried to do it all the way. I know, like, Charlotte was maybe the top star they brought in, and well, Edge, I guess, but that was the week when Edge, you know, obviously tanked ratings across all three shows. An incredible all-time great achievement by Edge, but like, they never went all the way there. They never went all the way through with it. And this, I kind of feel like the same thing. Like, they quote unquote loaded the show up, but they really didn't give that much of an effort. And it's like, it wouldn't have taken that much more. We look at those numbers. I mean, they're one good guy. They're Roman Reigns away from absolutely destroying AEW this week. Right?
I disagree with that. I think that the gap was still pretty big, 0.26 to 0.18 from that standpoint. And honestly, I think part of the reason they don't bring their biggest stars is because I think they realize that they'll probably still lose, and that's extra embarrassing.
And that's obviously one issue, is if you really load it up and like really bring out the big guns, then you still lose, then it's absolutely embarrassing. So
listen.
That's why it's always easier to kind of say, we're gonna, well, they beat developmental, they beat this, you know, they beat NXT. That's not the same thing, you know. That's
head to head, closer to apples. FS1 versus whether it was, I can't remember if it was TNT or TBS at that time. The Bunny beat Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar head to head.
Yeah.
So, and that was actually AEW with the high ground, because again, whether it was TBS or TNT at the time, I can't remember, but either way, there isn't much of a difference between TBS and TNT to begin with. There's more, that's a larger universe than FS1's household penetration. So they did have the high ground, but it was still shocking to everyone that AEW didn't even load up their show that week for that Friday where they went head to head with the FS1 SmackDown, where WWE did the overrun on purpose. They did the huge Brock Lesnar loaded it up with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And for the half hour they went head to head, they lost, which was humiliating. I mean, I wrote about that behind the paywall. Now, in a vacuum, none of these little head to head battles really mean anything other than bragging rights. They really don't mean anything.
No, they're completely worthless in the grand scheme of things.
Completely meaningless other than for bragging rights, right? Okay, so AEW beat WWE head-to-head for a half hour. The Bunny beat Roman Reigns. That's just meme fodder. That's really all it is. Okay, same for this week. AEW wins pretty handily, 0.26 to 0.18. Again, what does it mean in the grand scheme? It means that, you know, Tony Khan gets to send out, you know, a smarmy tweet. I don't even know if he bothered. And you know, but it's still important to these people because they have egos, right? And that's why you load it up. And to be honest, I don't think WWE specifically loaded up NXT just to beat AEW. I'm sure that was part of the goal, but part of it was also the rest of that killer competition as well. I mean, if they hadn't loaded up their show, you know, perhaps they wouldn't have had to have growth again. To have growth versus all of that competition is that's a tremendous night for them. You know, so what they did worked. It worked well enough to have growth versus all of that competition. but it wasn't even close to enough to beat AEW. And I disagree with you. I think even if they would have brought in the bigger stars, I think they still would have lost. And I think that might be part of the reason they don't do it, because then it's extra embarrassing to take an L when because they've brought in Charlotte before. I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention?
I did.
Charlotte?
Yeah, I mentioned Charlotte as like one of probably the biggest one that they tried the first time.
Yeah, Charlotte and moving Finn Balor to the brand full time for a while there, and but those are about the biggest stars that they've tried it with, and it didn't work then. And Charlotte, we were calling her Charlotte 8,000 for a while because she added a whopping 8,000 viewers to her quarter hour, and her quarter hour still lost. So, there's that aspect of it too. Look, if you're a big WWE star and that gets pitched to you, I find my way out of doing it.
Oh,
I don't want to lose head
sure.
because I'm probably going to lose, and I don't want to lose to them. That's that's a ding on my reputation. If I'm Seth Rollins or I tell you what, if they would have promised the Fiend for NXT, what do you think would have happened?
Oh man, yeah, that for sure.
Or I'm sorry, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, he's not the Fiend. He's Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
He's having internal struggles in his mind and his brain. No, I think that's. Yeah, that
might be the one that could have made it super close.
That might do it. I think the list is the list is Brock, Roman, and Bray is about the only three that I could think of.
I think the list is Bray.
I think if you put Brock on that show, it probably
maybe
in a big. I think you can't. I don't think you could just have Brock appear like Brock Lesnar appears on NXT. It's got to be like Brock versus somebody. Yeah, right.
What are we doing with them?
Right.
Yeah, that Roman though. I've seen Roman put in those kind of positions too many times and not mean a thing to think that he would make that big of a difference. Whether it's adding him to the MSG show and they sold 400 tickets in 6 days and then had to bring in Cena to save the day. Whether it was, there's a million examples.
Right.
He lost to the Bunny. I just told you he lost to the Bunny.
He did lose to the Bunny. Yeah.
So, and that's a fact. I'm not doing a bit. So I've seen Roman put in those positions far too many times during this bloodline run and not make any kind of difference at all to confidently say that he would have made a major difference here. I don't think he would have. I think Bray Wyatt is hot enough right now because even though SmackDown did their usual numbers, I don't know if you saw the quarter hours, it was his quarter hour popped big, for the 6 minutes that he came on at the end or whatever. Otherwise, SmackDown would have been down from their usual level. So it looked like when the overnights came out and then the final came out that it was like, oh, this Bray thing, people got it out of their system. Maybe they're done with it. But that's not quite the case because his quarter hour did excellent and was the biggest thing on the show. So there's still some mileage that they're getting out of Bray Wyatt here. Okay, so that's now the third number that he's popped. So as hot as he is right now among their fan base, I think Bray is the list. I don't think you want to throw Brock in there. All right, but I'm not giving you Roman though. I've seen too much contrary evidence to trying to use him to pop numbers and it not working. So Judgment Day. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I think if you really wanted to do something, you would say you'd get Sasha Banks coming back and you sign her to a contract and say she's going to debut. But then, how much are you blowing out to just win this 1 week? That doesn't fucking matter.
That doesn't mean anything.
right. Like, that's dumb. Like, if you do that, you're being dumb. Like, I think if you have somebody there and you say, hey, Brock, can you show up? Or, can you, Bray, just why don't you pop on over and do a Wyatt family thing or whatever? That's fine because that doesn't disturb. That's not like anything that you're giving away that. But if you, say, hey, Sasha Banks returns on NXT, it's like, yeah, you won the 1 week. But, man, that's a bigger moment that you probably want to use for something more important than, beating AEW in a weekly, Tuesday head-to-head.
Yeah, and now we're playing Fantasyland because we don't even know if she's signed.
Right. Now we're if John Cena appears and faces Brock, like now we're fantasy booking random stuff. So it's stuff that...
important correction, Rich. We have given her too much credit. It was in fact Charlotte 7,000.
7,000. That's right. Yes. Yeah, 1,000 less.
Charlotte 7,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was so amazing. I remember the anticipation when those ratings came out, and it was like, oh,
yeah.
That's not much higher. That was. It ended a lot. That NXT run where it ended a lot of people that were like, "Hey, this guy's a big deal," or "Yeah, she's a big deal," and it was like, no, none of these people really matter at all. Nobody really, the Edge, I'll never forget the Edge week where it was just like, yeah, the Edge did not matter at all. And from that point forward, it was like, he never mattered. You know what I mean? Nobody ever gave a shit. And the Sasha stuff, or the Charlotte stuff, I remember just being blown away by that too. And it feels like her, star aura kind of took a big hit from that too. So your point is strong that like, if you bring a Roman Reigns and he gets, they still lose to Dynamite. Like, how does that look, to him, from the outside looking in, of people that analyze and look at this stuff? Yeah, it's probably not great. Or internally, because trust me, internally they care about this shit. They do. They probably shouldn't as much as they do, but it's wrestling, and that's how it goes, especially in these wars, is they care about this little shit, winning ratings wars, winning. Hell, I can tell you they care because look at what they did on NXT this week. They tried to add, main roster people and add stuff to try to get that 1 week of a bump. That's why every single week they're trying these Halloween Havocs and this show and that show and that show. Like this little dumb rating stuff, it matters. It matters a lot to them. So,
yeah, for people who might not know, that week that Edge came on NXT, what Rich is referring to is that week Edge appeared on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, and all three of his quarter hours dropped and from the previous quarter hours on those specific shows. So that was a very embarrassing week for Adam Copeland. Yeah. That's his name, right?
Yes, actor extraordinaire Adam Copeland, who's appearing in some movie that I saw in a press release that I don't care to remember what it was. So.
Oh, really? We got some dopey press release about an Edge movie?
It was like some dumb. It's like Adam Copeland stars in something I'm never going to watch and I've never heard of. So I just kind of let it go. So.
He is a master thespian. Things to consider about these numbers this week when you look at the quarter hours. AEW opened up huge because they had the huge lead-in audience from the post-game show of the Yankee Guardian game. If that game had gone a little bit longer, because the game ended a half hour. There was a half hour post-game
about 6:38, I think, is when it ended.
Yeah, so you got to figure that, tons of people switched over to the, whatever the other, was it? It was Padres-Phillies already, right? Yeah, it was game one, Padres-Phillies. Right. So, but they still had the lead-in, an enormous lead-in, because the show opened at over 1 million viewers in quarter hour one. And then quarter hour two averaged 824,000 viewers. So an immediate drop, which obviously indicates that if we had the minute by minutes, I'm sure the first few minutes of that first quarter hour were enormous, maybe close to 2 million. And then they immediately lost everybody who realized that the post-game show was over. So that helped them. For NXT, they did an overrun. And we know that overruns are always very helpful. The NXT overrun, quarter hour 8 did 619,000 total viewers, and then the overrun averaged 703,000 viewers. So almost 100,000 viewer increase from quarter hour 8 to the overrun quarter. So that helped their average a little bit as well, going unopposed with AEW for however many minutes that was. I don't know if it was a full 50. No, it was like 7 minutes or something like that. Or I don't think it was a full quarter, but they did have an overrun. So the Dynamite show also dropped big time once it turned over to the second hour. So I don't know what happened there. Is that when an NBA game might have started at 9 Eastern?
9 Eastern on Tuesday. They may have done the switch over. Yeah, because I think the first NBA game that week was started at like 6:30. Let me look at the Tuesday NBA schedule, because that could probably give us that exact. I forget when that game switched over, but you're probably right.
Yeah, because while you're looking that up, the show peaked outside of the fake quarter hour one, which we know is bullshit. The show peaked with the MJF William Regal thing right before the top of the hour. 827,000 viewers, 405 in the demo. Those were both the high watermarks. And then immediately after, immediately quarter hour 5, which would have been 9 to 9:15, the show dropped to 645,000 total viewers and never hit 700,000 viewers again for the rest of the night. So something happened at 9 p.m. I'm guessing that's when the second NBA game started.
Yes. So that started 10 p.m. Eastern. Was that, and that was so 10 p.m. Eastern is when the Warriors Lakers started, but it also had all the pregame festivities and the ring ceremony and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that appears to be when everybody started.
So would that have been the end of the Celtic Sixer game?
Yes, which was a great game, by the way. So it was like a thing where maybe if you checked in, you went, "Whoa, this is a good game. I'm going to finish this out," and then immediately when that game was over, they went right to like the ring ceremony with the Warriors and stuff. So if you have any sort of sports or NBA affinity, you were going to check that out anyway. If you went to go say, "Hey, when is the Warriors ring thing going to happen?" You switched over and you saw a really, really good game going on one hand. So then you might as well just stick around and watch through the ring ceremony too, which lasted, about 15. Man, because we were doing the Insurrection Live while that was still all going on. So it lasted probably about a half hour or so, the ring ceremony.
But the quarter hour 7 really dipped low, 581,000 total viewers and 275 in the demo, the low mark for the show for the Jade Cargill stuff, and then 2 commercial breaks. And we know commercial breaks and that's the one thing with these quarter hours that you really have to know where the commercials are, because that's where you lose your viewers. Occasionally when we get the minute by minutes, the pattern is clear. Commercials, people dip out. They flip around, they watch other things. It's automatic. And then the final quarter hour with the conclusion of the main event, it's shot back up to that was the highest quarter hour of the second hour of the show in both total viewership and demo. So that was the story with AEW. And for NXT, it was, the demo line was pretty much a straight line from the beginning until the end of the show. I mean, there is just nothing to analyze. It doesn't seem like, I'll tell you what, their one dip in the demo and their biggest dip in total viewership coincided with the MJF William Regal quarter. So I think it's safe to conclude that a lot of the people who were channel flipping but, favoring NXT, they spent that quarter hour watching MJF and William Regal.
Yeah, well spent.
Because
quarter hour well spent, for sure.
That quarter hour has the biggest dip for NXT.
What was on NXT in that quarter?
It was, oh my God, a whole bunch of shit. It's impossible.
Nothing that mattered. Nothing that was better than MJF and William Regal, I take it.
There was a backstage promo, a tag team match with Wesley, and
so nothing of merit or note.
A commercial break, and then 2 more promos. So a bunch of promos and a short match.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was going to get destroyed anyway.
Yeah, and you have
an
MJF
all-time great
on the
promo
other channel.
segment, and you have MJF. Yeah.
You have MJF. Yeah. So everybody switched over, and you could see a gigantic dip, and then right at 9:00 after the MJF stuff is done, NXT got almost all of those viewers back. They didn't get them all back because both shows did poorly in the second hour compared to the first, but it shot back up. So just based on looking at these quarters, it's clear to me that the MJF segment was not only a good draw, the best drawing segment for AEW, but it seems to me it took away viewers from NXT as well. So otherwise, you look at this, you look at the quarters for these 2 shows, at least in total viewership, and they kind of mirror each other. Other than that quarter hour, they kind of mirror each other in terms of the pattern, which tells me that everyone watching wrestling was also keeping their eye on the other stuff going on and seemed to turn the channel to that stuff at the same time. So, anyway, that's those are the major takeaways from the quarters. So I don't know. Got anything else on this stuff?
Nah, it was a pretty just nothing happening ratings battle. It's just like, I don't know. It's fine. Nothing that was too shocking to me. Everything was pretty much exactly where, a lot of us thought it was going to be. So more like not a really weird number for AEW. Like sometimes these AEW numbers completely surprise you, but that's pretty much exactly where I thought it was going to go. At NXT, maybe a little bit higher than I thought it was going to go, but a good number, I'd say, for both those, considering, competition that was on, Dynamite having to move nights, NXT getting, a little bit of a bump from Dynamite going back on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, pretty, nothing too crazy, but, fun little look at the a one-time ratings battle here. But the war, Joe, is not done because Gosh darn it happened again. WWE has the worst luck when they have scheduling shows on the day that previously scheduled events in their competition are taking place, because per Fightful Select, December 10th is tentatively slated for the next NXT premium live event. It's going to happen there, which December 10th is the same day as ROH's Final Battle, which was announced this week as well. So they might not be head-to-head, though, because for right now, Final Battle is scheduled to happen in the afternoon. It was like 3 p.m. or something like that, I think they announced it as. And NXT, presumably that show will take place at night and not in the afternoon. But regardless, they're trying to, slip in on that day, December 10th. They've decided that is the day on the calendar that they must have a premium live event. So,
well, yeah, whether it's head-to-head or not in terms of what time the show happens, it's obviously deliberate, and anyone who tells you it's not is
what?
Out of their mind.
What?
But beyond being deliberate, it's what it does is, even if they run their show after the ROH show is over or before, even if the timing is different, it's media coverage being split. It's attention being split. It's wrestling fans making a decision. Normal people, meaning not people like us and the people listening to this, might not want to sit down and watch 7 hours of wrestling on a Saturday. When they have to go Christmas shopping, go to holiday parties and everything else. On top of that, being that it's going to be, creeping up on the 15 days before Christmas. But normal people generally aren't going to want to sit down in front of their TVs and watch 7 hours of wrestling. So they're going to pick one or the other. And WWE is keenly aware of all of these things, which is why they're doing this again. So, Paul Levesque he got his ass kicked, and you're going to see more of this. He can no-sell it to Ariel Helwani all he wants and say, well, they beat our developmental brand. Big deal. Well, he does think it's a big deal. Right. Because if he didn't think it was a big deal, he wouldn't do it. This is, a wrestling war, and these are the kind of things. This is the WWE playbook, and he's continuing his father-in-law's playbook here. And, obviously deliberate, and the plausible deniability of, we're running, an hour after their show ends. Again, you're talking about taking headlines from wrestling news sites. You're talking about taking attention, splitting the attention with the fans. You're talking about forcing wrestling fans to make a decision on which show they're going to watch and all of those things. It's Tony Khan is running a pay-per-view, right? So the idea here is, well, we've got this show on Peacock, which if you're a fan, you already have.
Yeah, you can already have it. If you don't have it, it's free. You can just sign up for Peacock and get it for free. So,
which then also helps your decision if you don't have time to watch 7 hours of wrestling that day. Well, I'm going to watch the one that I've already paid for, as opposed to buying something on pay-per-view, right? And they know that. What they're trying to do here is hurt the buy rate. That's 100% what they're trying to do here.
Gasp. How dare, what? That was the date they chose.
But the thing about it, Rich, is we have to say that,
yes.
And it's like,
yeah, of course.
Hypothetically, if we were to put this clip on you, we were talking before, we put clips on YouTube now. If we were to put this clip on YouTube, and I don't think we will, because this isn't any kind of special clip that we're doing here, but if we were to put this conversation on YouTube, for a fact we'd get comments of people saying that we're the ones that are crazy and they're not running at the same time, and this isn't a predatory business move, and this is not, because people are you think it's obvious, but to a lot of people it isn't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To a lot of people it isn't obvious. There's
how do we even know that they didn't have this date planned and that AEW didn't run their
we get all that stuff, and this has happened plenty of times. It's not the first time that happened. It's not the last time it's going to happen. It's something that WWE's been doing for 35 years, 40 years. They've been doing it.
And WWE doesn't give a shit if less people watch their NXT show, as long as they're hurting the buy rate of the ROH.
Welcome to the WWE business model. The Vince McMahon model of running professional wrestling companies is, I don't care if we're successful, I just don't want them to be successful. And that's really, it's been a brilliant business strategy for most of his tenure because it's worked. It worked a lot. It worked in the territory days. Hey, I don't give a shit if we're bleeding money. I just want to buy these TV channels out so that none of these fucking territories can ever exist ever again. And then they all went away, and then he was the only game in town. So it worked. It worked out swimmingly, and then he made money, and then they lost money, and then they made, and then. But yeah, this has been the playbook. This is go back and look at the Jim Crockett promotions and Survivor Series and Rumbles and all. I mean, just the amount of stuff in the head to head with those two, and then Jim Crockett promotions then trying to do their counterpunch with, and we'll do Clash of the Champions. We'll give it for free. Like they did the same thing as well. They gave out like gigantic matches for free on free television just to hurt WWE, and the WWE saying, well, if then you told cable companies, if you do this, we're not going to give you WrestleMania. we don't want people buying our show because you let them have their show on your network. And then they ultimately didn't do that at all. It was just all bluffing. But like, yeah, this has been the business model, and NXT has done this a couple times too. This isn't Paul Levesque one day, saying, oh, not desperate times call for desperate measures. He's done this before with NXT. It happened on a smaller scale. I know for a fact it happened in Chicago. There was an Evolve weekend. This is before Evolve was fully linked up with WWE, but there was an Evolve weekend, and NXT just randomly put a takeover against the Evolve weekend in Chicago or whatever, just absolutely destroyed Evolve attendance that weekend. And yeah, that stuff kind of happened all the time. That's what they do. That's this company's playbook. So yeah, to think that, oh gosh darn it, man, who knew? Who knows how this could have possibly happened? Well, yeah, they saw ROH Final Battle and said, fuck it, then we're putting one of our events on the same night. And if 100,000 less people watch our thing and whatever, who cares? But we got to hurt them some way. Then it will.
I remember being at Joe Cavezza's house for WrestleMania 4, and we were all running back and forth from the living room to his bedroom to check out, what was going on in the Clash. It was that was exciting times for 1988 or whatever year that was. When you had the two major shows going on at the same time and everything. I believe that was the Flair Sting 45-minute draw. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken. So,
which WrestleMania 4 stunk. So I would have definitely been in that other room with Flair versus Sting for sure.
We were all a bunch of little kids running back and forth.
Yeah, it was a tournament though, and tournaments love. I that WrestleMania 4, as much as it stunk, that was one of my most rented tapes of all time, one of the most rented VHS of all time, because it was the double VHS, and I'm like, whoa, like I'm gonna get, for the price of just one VHS, I'm gonna get two action-packed VHSs for WrestleMania 4, and there was like 15 good minutes of wrestling on all two. But at that time, I didn't care. It was all about the amount of wrestling I could get for the price that I was going to get, and that's what WrestleMania 4 gave you. So
I was totally deflated when Jake Roberts got eliminated.
Oh, he was your pick? Yeah, he was your guy? He
was my guy, yeah. That deflated me as a little kid. But yeah, that's what this is, and it's it's obviously deliberate, and it's Tony Khan at the Brawl Out presser. I'm not going to take this fucking shit anymore, and so maybe he's got some counter shots planned. So maybe this thing gets even dirtier and more fun moving forward between these two companies. I'm all for the drama. Obviously, it gives us stuff to talk about.
It's great,
and it makes things exciting.
Wrestling is drama, man. This is the dumbest business. These people are fighting over this like small crumb of people that still watch wrestling. This like minute little niche of people that still watch wrestling, and they're fighting tooth and nail over this small little group of people that are all listening to this show too. You're part of that group. You're part of that small little group that these idiots are fighting over for no reason.
You say that, but there's $1 billion TV deals
right. And Jordan Smith brings up a great point in the No Dope chat room. He says certainly a coincidence that this move happens just as rumors of ROH finally finalizing a potential deal, for their streaming or for their television emerges. So yeah, I'm sure it's just another complete coincidence. So there you go. That is the latest on that. Apparently the announcement is going to come at Halloween Havoc this week. So they're going to do that Halloween Havoc show this week, and apparently the announcement will come there. So we'll see if that holds true, if Fightful has it right, but it seems like a pretty locked-in thing here, December 10th, an NXT event. And again, like now when we're going to cover ROH Final Battle, to your point, like that week, we also have to talk about this NXT show. Like we can't just have the whole show be about Final Battle. No, it's going to have to also be about this NXT event. So
that's a huge part of the idea, to split all of that real estate on the front page of these sites and these podcasts and the media coverage and everything. And That's the playbook, and that's what we're seeing with that.
All right, so now let's move on to, another WWE thing here going on, a pay-per-view that will not be, a premium live event that will not be happening. And last year we had discussed this a lot when this event first got announced, that the WWE Day 1, the idea was clearly a Nick Khan initiative that we are going to run a major show every single year on January 1st. It's a big sports day. It's a giant day. Everybody's home. Why don't we use that day as well? Why do we just let football have that day? Why don't we put something on there? And, we kind of wondered last year, we thought it was a cool idea. I'm pretty sure you and I both thought, hey, that's awesome. Cool. I'm home. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, football's great, but I'll watch wrestling on New Year's Day or whatever. And we thought it was a great idea, but we definitely wondered at that time, what is going to happen when it lands on a Tuesday? What's going to happen when January 1st is on a Tuesday? Yes, it's a great idea to say, yeah, we're always going to have on January 1st, we're going to have this show, but it works a little bit better if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday or a weekend or a Friday even. But when it's on a Tuesday and you're asking people, okay, it's New Year's Day and you got to stay up till 7 or 8 p.m. for this event that's going to end at 11 p.m. or whatever, it's a little bit of a different ask than if it's on a Saturday, which worked out perfectly for the first year of it. It was on a Saturday. It was great. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I know you did as well. I think we both kind of thought, hey, that's a really cool idea. I hope this keeps going, but we wonder if, maybe it's going to get a little weird, when it lands on a Tuesday. Well, we never have to worry about that because per WrestleNomics, the January 1st pay-per-view WWE Day 1 has been canceled and will not be rescheduled. Now, as far as this year's idea of having it, this was going to go head-to-head with Sunday Night Football, Joe. Now, you as a football fan, why is that a problem?
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to pick the football game, and it's going to, I don't. Here's the thing. The problem is, like you're saying, if you're just going to go January 1st every single year rather, right? It's going to fall on a different day of the week, and you're going to face different kinds of sports competition every year. That's always going to be a variable that's in play. The varying levels of which bowl games are going to be when, and whether you're going to have to go to head-to-head with the NFL and all of these
NBA
different
games.
things.
There tends to be some pretty big NBA games on that day usually as well.
You never know what you're going to be competing with, right? And you never know what's going to be going on in the market that you're running the show in year to year. And it just feels to me like we all know this was a Nick Khan initiative. We know that. That's a fact. And we know that Vince was obviously on board with the idea, but this might be one of those things where Levesque just disagrees with Vince, and maybe it's because of all of these unknown variables year to year and considering what you're going to have to compete with, or maybe Levesque just feels like it's too much for January. The focus needs to be completely on the Royal Rumble.
Well, so the reason I kind of set you up for this, because I think there might be another potential reason for this. Not necessarily WWE's full idea here. Who has the Sunday, January 1st Rams at Chargers game, Joe? What will that be? What will that air on?
Well, I'm guessing if it's a Sunday Night Football, it has to be NBC.
It's
so
NBC,
you have a conflict of interest.
But also Peacock.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that Peacock's looked at their internal and went, no.
I see what you're saying. You're thinking maybe Peacock.
I wonder if maybe he didn't say, hey, you guys can't have this, but kind of said, hey, do you guys really need to have this show? Like, does it really need to be going head to head with the thing that we're paying, billions of dollars for here with NBC and streaming it on Peacock and January 1st? And this seems like a bad idea. Maybe there's a better time that we can put this on. Hey, are you guys cool with doing it? And that's, sort of what WrestleNomics, brought up as well, is that the tickets were scheduled to go on sale September 23rd, but something happened before that and they got delayed and they never got restarted. So somebody somewhere, whether you're saying it was Paul that said, this thing is stupid, why are we doing this? Or I do wonder if maybe there was also, not necessarily NBC or Peacock saying, hey, you cannot have this on, but maybe a little bit of like, do you guys know what's going on? Like, are you sure that you want this, on January 1st? Is that really something is that a fight you guys want to fight? And do you really want, or maybe even internally, Nick Khan looks at it and goes, oh shit, this is not a fight that we need to be fighting with our, television partners, NBC. So let's just, get off here and let them have their day. I don't know what it was, but there's probably a multitude of factors that play into it. But a Sunday, January 1st, pay-per-view streaming on Peacock for a lot of reasons is not good.
Do these Sunday Night Football games, do they also stream on Peacock? I don't even know the answer.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay. Yeah, I would think that they probably would. Because I'm someone, if I all things being equal, I'm just putting on the fucking TV.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not dealing with the stream. So yeah, that
I think they advertise all those games as live on Peacock and NBC. In case you don't have NBC, if you're still just it's where I'm at. So
yeah, if you don't have I mean, it's over the air, but I understand a lot of people aren't going to go buy the fucking $20 antenna or whatever the fuck. And then, if you're going to pay for Peacock, then they're going to give you everything. So that could be. Yeah, you're right. It could be a conflict of interest. Maybe NBC had a problem with it. That's true. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. I was just thinking about it from the standpoint of the competition changing on a yearly basis on that day, because that's always traditionally been a big sports day, which is why Nick Khan wanted to establish this tradition, because he wanted to get in on that, right? And, maybe Vince thought that was a good idea. NFL be damned, college football be damned, whatever the fuck. But, I was just thinking that maybe Levesque was like, I don't know. This isn't the smartest thing. And, and from my standpoint, I'm thinking, why not just completely focus on the Royal Rumble, which is usually going to be 2 or 3 weeks later anyway.
Right. And now they are. And now it's Survivor Series and then the Rumble. There's nothing in between those now.
There's nothing in December.
I don't think they're doing a December one. Let me clarify that to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that this year they didn't do a December thing because they were doing this day one thing, and now
January 1, which is essentially December.
Right.
That does make sense. But I mean,
Survivor Series War Games. Yeah, that's the new name now. Survivor Series War Games. November 26th.
Because they're going to do War Games every year there now. That's another Levesque initiative.
Yeah.
So he loves these fucking fake War Games matches with the fucking the roof different and everything. Yeah, I don't know, but I've had enough of those. Believe me, I've had enough of those WWE style. I've had enough War Games. Period.
And I've always thought we talk about it every single year. The great thing is that we've pretended that War Games is actually good when in fact most of them are bad. There's like 2 good ones, and like 30 of them fucking suck. So
multiple companies. MLW trying to do them. Most companies have tried a variation of it. I mean, Blood and Guts is War Games, and they're usually not that great. AEW's done a decent job with them.
Yeah, Blood and Guts is good. ROH, obviously, the Cage of Death with CZW, that was a fantastic one. CZW had some good Cage of Deaths on their own. Those are okay.
Crockett was hit or miss.
Yeah, Crockett was there was
mostly
a couple.
Miss.
And mostly WCW was almost entirely miss, other than like 92 was the one that people, because you'll say like, War Games matches suck, and everybody brings up the same one every single time.
Match.
It's like, I know that one is good, but the other 9 were terrible. So.
Yeah. And the NXT ones are just, they're too much. I don't know. They're just too much.
Well, they're perfect WWE stuff. It's like, they're like, it's time for War Games. Like the lady growls at you, and then a siren goes off, and lights explode, and it's like, and then it's just like, there's no, and then just like a normal, like a match happens. You're like, why is this happening in the War Games? Like, what do we really need this match to happen? In the confines of this cage? And it's like, well, no, it's time for War Games. So yeah, it does, of course. So.
They're always like 48 minutes long. And
right.
They're just too much. I don't know. I don't remember anything about any of them because they all feel the same, and they're all.
The only one I remember is Dakota Kai and
the turn.
Knox. Yeah, that was a good one. But again, nothing that happened actually could have happened on any normal show. It did not need to be in a War Games, but that was well done.
Pat McAfee was in one, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was in one with the Undisputed Era. I guess that was all right.
The one where Adam Cole was on top of the cage, but I don't know. I remember scant details about some of them, but I don't know. But anyway, that's going to be something that we're going to get at Survivor Series every year now. But so I don't know if this will be. Maybe they'll take this day one thing year by year and just decide based on what else is going on whether they want to do it or not. Or maybe it's just dead for good. And then if that is the case, we know that was a Levesque call. And this is also one more example of, and we're going to beat this dead horse, of Nick Khan was never in charge, okay? And this is a perfect example because this is a Nick Khan initiative, and Levesque decided they're not doing it. Levesque is the boss, just like Vince was the boss. Nick Khan was never the boss, which is another one of these dumb things that dumb fans seem to think were true. as he was more than willing to be the lightning rod for all of Vince's
and
unpopular
said
decisions.
And said on a show, I am happy to be the bad guy. I have no problem with everybody hating my guts. I don't care. Yeah. And it one by one, it would be great when somebody would get fired. They would say, "Oh, I thought Vince really liked that guy," and then someone would say, "Oh, yeah, no, Vince did like the guy. Nick Khan fired him." And then that guy like tweeting out like, "Well, Vince always liked my ideas." So
yeah.
As Vince goes, "All right, pal. All right, yeah, good idea, pal." And the door closes, and he just buries the guy. You know what I mean?
And you know why Nick Khan doesn't care? Because he's a busy human who has a life and doesn't ever go on Twitter. And why does he care if some 19-year-old Bray Wyatt mutant fan doesn't like him? That doesn't affect his life at all.
He sits in his weird house with this giant pool and doesn't give a fuck that Bray fan 6969 gives a shit that he does not care.
He's got things
floating.
to do.
He's floating in an infinity pool. Talking with massive sports stars and television networks. He does not care that
He's got
people
shit
on
to do.
Reddit are upset about it.
Yeah, he doesn't care that you don't like. He doesn't care who likes him or doesn't.
I also don't care. I do not have an infinity pool though, so it'd be a little bit nicer if I had a palatial mansion on a hilltop, but I do not. So.
Are you jealous of the Nick Khan?
No, that house is weird. No, that house is a weird house.
A little too modern, right?
It's way too modern. It's your boy McVeigh has a very weird house too.
That's Kingsbury.
Yeah. Oh, is that Cliff Kingsbury the one with just like honestly, all windows? No, he has one too. No.
Honestly, it's probably both of them.
No, McVeigh has one too because I remember
Hard Knocks.
Yeah, there was some weird. Yeah, there was just a lot of windows everywhere.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing.
There's that picture of him sitting on that couch, and there's just windows everywhere.
That's Kingsbury.
Okay, well, Kingsbury's the weirdo then.
That's Kingsbury at one of the drafts during COVID where you couldn't be together.
Yes, and it's him in this like. There's nothing on the walls because there are no walls. They're just glass.
Yeah,
and he's just sitting on this very large couch, like holding an iPad. And I'm just like, what's going on here?
That's the Kingsbury meme.
Okay.
And he's got an outside. There's like an outdoor fire pit behind the pool, and there's a whole kitchen out there.
I'll take that. So
that's the Kingsbury, but I'm sure McVeigh
I'm sure Sean McVeigh has a very weird looking house.
Equally gaudy house with his Eastern European wife that he just married to. So I'm sure they all have ridiculous house, and they're all. And it's he's in LA, so that even increases the odds even more. But
okay, I'm looking at the picture now. You're right. It is Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, it's just like
it's
all marble, and the outside just this random fire pit and stuff. Yeah, it's very.
And even the outfit he's wearing.
He has no socks. He's wearing loafers with no socks.
You're
like an absolute asshole. Absolute asshole.
Just a total douche.
Yeah, he's wearing a sweater with the collar kind of high up. You know what I mean? Like it's not a fully folded collar. Yeah, he's got his loafers on with no socks. Get out of here. He's got Fiji water next to him. Go away.
Fiji water, and he's got like the four cell phones all lined up.
Yeah, he's got 4 cell phones, a laptop, 2 monitors, and his giant TV in front of his fireplace. So.
Yeah, and he's just super casual during the draft.
Right.
Super cash. But I don't know. Yeah, the Nick Khan house, very modern from what I remember.
It's so weird. Yeah, it's very.
Probably because he's never in it.
No.
He's got shit to do. So. The other speculation, because he's so tight with The Rock. Did you see that this week?
I did, yeah. If I'm Paul,
and The Rock actually had the comment on that, whether Nick Khan is somehow going to backdoor him into an office position with WWE, which but again, The Rock is very busy. That man has a lot of things to do. So does he really have time to take on that kind of position?
Not right now with the XFL and stuff and his impending presidential run, but yeah, if that all fails, then I guess he's got some time on his hands. I think he's got bigger fish to fry than that. Honestly, he's bigger than that at this point. So.
Yeah, but he loves the wrestling.
He does love the wrestling. Yeah, I said if all that fails and he ends up not, then I could see that being but that's many years. I mean, he's still got a lot of time until that all happens. So
the sitcom and the movies and the XFL and why do people want to be that busy? That's the question.
It sounds infuriating. It sounds terrible.
Like that's just I don't want that much to do. And The Rock is at the point where clearly any money he makes now doesn't make any difference to his lifestyle. So that can't be the motivation, right? Like the money is not the motivation because he has more money than he could ever spend as it is. and so do his future generations. So what is it inside of somebody? What is that gene that makes them just want to constantly have shit to do?
Right, that drive, yeah. I think once you get in it, you just can't stop. And now he's in this rat race where he just can't stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's... But it's wild, yeah, because he's in everything. He's doing everything. The guy, there's no way he sleeps. He just can't. Working out, and he looks like that too. It's not like he's like a sloth. You know, I could get it if you were that busy and you're like, yeah, you know what? Look, I don't take care of my health. I don't work out. He's that. He's The Rock. You know, he still has time to be clanging and banging at 4 a.m. You know, so good for him. But yeah.
Man, I don't know. I feel like, let's say this show made us filthy rich, independently wealthy, beyond our wildest dreams. I don't know if I'd take on other projects. I'd be okay with
would be perfectly content with being like, all right, sweet. I got,
nothing would change for me. I would,
yeah.
I would end this show every Thursday and go right back to my couch with all on my giant pile of money.
Right. And your TV might be a little bit bigger. Your couch might be a little nicer, but that's, yeah, I agree. I'm kind of like, I don't need to get like that much more rich. We've always said that there's like a number that's like, yeah, if I got there, I'd be good.
It's not even that more. It's like, I don't need to be that more. I don't need that much more shit to do. Like, I don't want all this shit to do. Sometimes I dread the show is later on that day. Like, and that's all. Sometimes I'm like, I got to do the show later. Like, I wouldn't want to add to that if I was already fucking ridiculously wealthy. Like, but these guys like The Rock just have this thing inside of them where like that guy doesn't. How does he have any leisure time with all of this shit that he has going on?
He does.
Well, why live like that? Enjoy your money.
I agree. Yeah, the point's going to come where he's going to be older or unhealthy, or he's going to have a heart attack or something like that's going to happen, and then he's going to go, "Fuck, shit, I've wasted all my life." So, I don't know. How's Vince doing? I guess that's the great comp is how's Vince McMahon doing in his life where he doesn't have anything to do anymore. So,
do you think he hates it, or do you think he? I mean, he's got that like 45-year-old blonde lady that he seems to be banging that he's been pictured with.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't know.
So is he just hanging out with his new girlfriend and just is he tuning in to fucking NXT on Tuesday nights? Like, what's
I don't know.
doing?
Yeah, I'd love to know. Someone's got to try to get what is this man who would call you at 2 a.m. to pitch ideas about a storyline that nobody else wanted to hear about. How's he doing now? Just literally waking up every day and not having a purpose is got to be, I don't know. Yeah, it's strange.
Do you think he watches AEW?
No, I don't think he watches.
You don't think if he's home on a Wednesday he flips?
I don't think so.
You don't think he checks it out?
No, I don't think he watches AEW.
I think there's more of a chance he watches it now than when he was.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, he had no time to watch it then because he was busy taking the script that everybody worked on and throwing it in the fucking trash and rewriting it. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't see Vince McMahon like, coming home, taking off his loafers and sitting on the couch and going, all right. Grabbing the remote and going, what's on the tube tonight? I don't know. I don't envision that, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe he's got nothing.
You don't think he's turning on his local CW to check out WoW?
Right.
You don't think he's doing that? You don't think he's
Is that what it's on? I actually legitimately have no idea how to watch WoW if I even wanted to.
It's in syndication, so it depends on your market.
Okay.
I think for me it's on I watched it this week and I will never watch it.
I've heard it's horrendous, yeah.
It's horrendous. It's unwatchable. It's garbage.
Let me see how I can watch the women.
It's got 100% clearance allegedly across the country. So I'm sure you have it somewhere on My TV or CW or one of those dopey channels that nobody watches anymore. Maybe WGN or something like that.
It looks like I could just play it on their website.
Well, if it's on demand, it means it's on.
No, it's just on their web. I'm not looking at their. I thought they would give me like their. Like I would go to their website and they would say, "Watch it on WCIU" or whatever. It doesn't. They're just letting me watch the episode on.
And you're not in a room with one of your TVs.
No.
So you can't like run a search right now. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was on at like 2 a.m. on my local CW on like Sunday night or something like that, and Saturday night / Sunday morning or Sunday night / Monday morning, something like. And I watched it and it was awful. and I will never watch it again. It's David McLean Wrestling, and he stinks. Nothing he's ever done has ever been good. So
it's on my CW, CW 26, Saturdays at both 6 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Yeah,
I don't watch either. So
it's cheap looking. It's low rent. It's I don't know. I just little tiny ring that bothers me. Just,
didn't they film it in Chicago? Or no, that's Maria's thing. It's not WoW. It's whatever the Maria wrestling vehicle is. I forget what that one's called, but
yeah,
equally successful, obviously.
I don't know. You don't think Vince settles in on a Wednesday and goes, "Scissor me, daddy ass." You don't think he's watching the?
I don't. No, I don't. I could absolutely see him watching WWE and like sending an email. Like they still get emails from like Vince at WWE.com or whatever, right? Like he's.
I think Paul might give Paul advice. I think Paul even said he gives him advice. I think he told Helwani that, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know if he's a devoted viewer. Did you ever hear the story of Vince where he was home and he was trying to watch TV and there was something wrong with the TV, like the audio. He couldn't get any audio out of the TV, so he called up the cable guy and had the cable guy come out. And the cable guy comes out and just unmutes the TV. And had to teach Vince that, you must have accidentally muted the TV, sir. There was nothing wrong with your service. And Vince was perplexed. He didn't know that such a feature existed. And that he had accidentally hit the mute button on his TV. So, do I think this is a man who's filling up his DVR with Dynamite episodes?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think so.
But I think he might check it out.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he did. That's a great story. What's weird though is he was like a normal human at one point in his life, right? I mean, not a long time ago, a long time ago, obviously, but I mean, in like 1982, he had to like consume television, right?
I would maybe, I guess,
right? Like at some point, I get that from like 1984 until 5 months ago, he was not a normal human being at all.
Right.
Didn't know anything, didn't watch anything, had no idea what was going on in the world, barely watched movies, occasionally would watch them years later and then base characters off of them and stuff. But yeah, he had to be a normal person in like 1981, right?
Yeah, I remember Shane forcing him to sit down and watch a UFC in like 2006. And because Shane wanted to like buy the Pride or UFC or something like that.
Yeah, it was UFC, I think, proper. Yeah.
Yeah, and Vince just didn't get it. He's like, no, not a normal man. But yeah, I guess maybe in 1980 he would sit down, and it's not like he had nothing to do. He worked for his dad back then, and he was at the tapings.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess he got caught in the wrestling world from a pretty early age and did it. But what is weird though is like if you go back and listen to especially like 1993 and 94 Raws or whatever. Like they're topical about like what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? Like so he at least had some knowledge of what he'd be like. Bill Clinton got himself in quite a, they do these like weird.
Well, a lot of that was to show the difference between like he did that a lot on Raw when they were head to head with Nitro, to try to either give the impression they were live or. You know what I mean? Like that. But they did it on the syndicated shows too a lot. You're right.
Right. Well, yeah, he would do stuff about talk about like whatever the football game that day was, even though like they don't know what the result is because obviously it got taped, a long time ago.
Right.
But he'd be like, Cleveland and the Browns and but you're not watching that, you're watching Raw.
Yeah.
Like so instead of doing that stuff, it was like vaguely aware of things going on in the world. So but then that kind of stopped, and then.
Well, Vince always goes through phases where he gets certain kicks about things. So it was probably just a matter of, I want the shows to be topical.
Yeah.
And I want them to be, and then he gets bored with that or decides they don't need to do that anymore and just changes his mind because he went through a million different phases like that with a million different things. So there was probably more so that than him having his finger on the pulse, which we all know that he didn't. So.
There you go. So that was our impromptu "What is Vince McMahon doing today?" Discussion. So there we go. All right,
he's popping Viagra and banging that 45-year-old.
That's probably about what he's doing. Yeah, he's doing that and probably working out. He probably wakes up, he works out, does nothing for a couple hours, bangs the woman, and
he's hanging out with John Cena and Pat McAfee, and he's just he's clanging and banging in the gym, and
then clanging and banging after the gym. So good.
Yeah, he's waking up in the morning and going, I got another day. And, he's looking over his shoulder for the Reaper, and that's what he's doing.
When you get to that age, it's probably just like trying not to die, right?
When you get to that age, you wake up and you're like, that's a surprise.
All right, good.
That's kind of where he's at. So, but his mother lived to like 115 or something. So who the fuck knows?
Yeah, who the hell knows with him? So we will see.
His brother died young, though. Like 60s, right? In his 60s.
Rod. Yeah, he died a bunch of years ago too. I forget.
He wasn't elderly, is the point.
No.
Yeah, he died before he should have died.
Right.
Yeah, he's probably in his late 60s or something, maybe, or early mid 60s or something like that. So, and his father died pretty young too. How old was his father? Probably, did he make it to 70? I don't know if he made that. Let's look that up.
Don't think so. So I know his grandfather. I'm looking at this right now. His grandfather, 72 for his grandfather. So that's that's a decent run there. As far as 69 years old for Vincent J. McMahon.
Yeah, he got sick, and what did he die of? He died of the cancer or leukemia or something.
I forget exactly what it was, but yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was some sort of cancer or something. Pancreatic cancer. Yep.
Yeah. So, so the mother kind of bucks the trend there. So he's hoping he's got his mother's genes.
Yeah, Rod is because all you care about, when Rod died in 2021. I forget, it was just a year ago that he died. He's 78 for Rod. So
older than I thought. A little older than I thought. I thought he was in his 60s.
Oh, and then his shit. Yeah, he had a rough go. I forgot that his sister died too.
Oh,
remember? There's the Vicky or whatever her name was. She died in 2022. I forgot about that.
I didn't know he had a sister.
And I don't know how close their relationship was, but she was 102 when she died. So no, sorry, no, that's his mom.
That's the mother.
That's the mom.
Okay,
that's the mom.
I was gonna say I don't remember a sister.
No, you're right. Sorry, that's his mom. Right.
Yeah.
102. Yeah, would you say 118? She wasn't quite 118.
Yeah.
102 is not bad. That's not bad.
That's a long run.
That's a good run.
A long run.
Yeah, sorry. He only has Rod. Is the only other sibling, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So we have plenty more to get to. Before we do that, though, I do want to let you know that this episode of the Flagship Podcast is sponsored by HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and that is why they are America's #1 meal kit. You subscribe to HelloFresh and check Save Money off of your fall to-do list. HelloFresh is 25% cheaper than takeout and less expensive than grocery shopping too. And with HelloFresh, ingredients travel from the farm to your doorstep in less than 7 days, so you know that they're fresh. Plus, the pre-portioned ingredients make cooking a snap and cut down on food waste as well. HelloFresh is now offering vegan recipes on the menu every single week as well, made without animal products of any kind, like dairy, meat, eggs, or honey. Enjoy meals like sweet chili tofu bowls and spicy coconut curry stir fry. And HelloFresh works with your ever-changing schedule. Plans are flexible, and you can choose your meals for the week, update your preferences, or change your delivery day, all in the HelloFresh app. And changing seasons mean changing tastes as well. And with 30-plus weekly recipes to choose from, HelloFresh has something for everybody. You can easily customize your meal by swapping out proteins or side, upgrading to choice proteins, or as we said, adding protein to a veggie meal, or just going full vegan meal if you would like as well. So here's the thing. Here's what you got to know. You go to HelloFresh.com/VOW65. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/VOW65 and use our promo code VOW65 to get 65% off plus free shipping. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/VOW65 and use that promo code VOW65 for 65% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. We appreciate them for sponsoring the show. All right. Hangman Page, we now have an update on his injury. We talked about it a little bit during Instant Reaction Live for AEW Dynamite. We were getting reports and news, while the show was going on. We also, at the beginning of the show kind of asked and wondered, hey, is this possibly a work? Is this possibly a shoot? Because at that time, we had no idea. It was immediately following the show. It was like, dude, who the hell knows? It's wrestling. AEW did officially release a statement, though, that said Hangman Adam Page was taken tonight by medical personnel to a Cincinnati trauma center and diagnosed with a concussion. He was discharged, but will remain in AEW's concussion protocol. AEW and Hangman Page are grateful for the exemplary response and care of the staff and local medical personnel and are appreciative of the love and support of the fans everywhere. Page then followed up with some tweets as well. So at least right now, all seems well. No timetable, obviously, on when he's coming back, but it does appear that he has avoided a major injury. So any thoughts about the updates on Hangman's injury and the concussion that he suffered on Tuesday?
No.
Yeah, there's nothing more. So that's good. I guess the best news there is that, yeah, it doesn't appear to be any major thing, and we'll see what ends up happening. If he's able
Sounds like he's fine.
Yeah, concussions are weird, and you never know, but this one seems to have gone pretty well, and it seems like everybody seems to think.
Yeah,
he's
tweeting out jokes and
yeah. So
and people say that he was fine that night. And,
right.
But I don't want to talk about it, though, because people get real weird about this shit.
Yeah,
so,
of course. Yeah. So just
wanted
to
it's just best to move on.
Yeah, I agree. Just wanted to update everybody on what the latest that's out there. But speaking of AEW, we're in AEW land, so we'll stay there. Per Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio episode this week, AEW has released producer Ace Steel. This happened on Tuesday, October 18th. Ace Steel was let go. Obviously, he, from all reports, was a major part in the brawl out fight, and whether he bit people, whether he was throwing chairs, whatever he was doing there, he appeared from every single source to be a part of the issue, a part of the fight, and he has been released. And this really, Joe, this is kind of the first domino to fall from this brawl out thing. And we mentioned on our Instant Reaction Live that Punk was seen in the ROH video. The Elite were mentioned by name during the show. So we were saying, okay, something's kind of, things are kind of moving and shaking a little bit here. And then the next domino to fall is Ace Steel being released. So it looks like we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever that light may be, who the hell knows, but it does feel like we likened it to like we're thawing a little bit. We were in a deep freeze here where nobody knew anything. Everybody, you couldn't mention any name. You couldn't do anything like this. It does feel like we're thawing a little bit. Ace Steel officially gone. Punk on the ROH video, the Elite mentioned my name. It does feel like we are getting closer to whatever the resolution of this thing is going to be for the people, the parts and the people that matter most to the story is, obviously Punk and Omega and the Bucks, and whatever's going to happen with those guys. It does feel like we should know that relatively soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we talked about it the other night when we reviewed the show, with the mention of the Elite on commentary and Punk being in the video packages. I think these were deliberate, small references, and now that they're, that we've a bunch of the people were taken off of suspension weeks ago, the Brandon Cutlers, the Christopher Daniels of the world, all the people in the room who were legitimately just, what's the best way to phrase it? Innocent victims of the circumstances.
Bystanders, victims of the situation or whatever. Not the aggressors in any way. Like people that may have gotten involved in it for one reason or another, but not
pull apart aspect of it.
Right, not the reason the fight started. Brandon Cutler was not the reason this thing started.
Right. So all those people were taken off suspension a long time ago. We got our first termination, and we've got mentions of the other people on television. So like you're saying, there seems to be like whatever the resolution is, whether that means they're all coming back, none of them are coming back, or some of them are coming back, we're getting there. And now what I think is interesting is at this point, the decisions may be made, but that doesn't mean that AEW necessarily has to announce anything. Because if you're going to bring back the Bucks or Kenny Omega or even CM Punk out there in a sling, why make any sort of announcement, until you can strategically bring them back, especially if, I think they were suspended with pay anyway. So presumably you're paying them during this whole period and you'd still be paying them anyway, even if, because let's say Omega is no longer suspended. Okay, fundamentally, nothing changes because you were paying him before and you're still paying him now. So why announce that he's no longer suspended, which then starts up all this speculation when you can strategically bring him back.
They're in the perfect spot right now. If they've internally cooled everything off and whatever that might be. If it's, hey, you know what, Punk, we don't need you anymore ever again, whatever. But like Bucks and Omega, okay, we want no matter what the resolution is, no matter what there's no point in announcing it now, because now you start okay, when are they coming? And then you set people up for disappointment. You set people up for weird expectations when they're coming. You're in the perfect spot right now. If you've cooled this off and at least some of the parties involved are due back, or things have been kind of resolved, now you can. I mean, when those guys come back, it's gonna be the biggest fucking deal on that show or whatever. Some people might say, "Oh, well, wouldn't you want to announce it and pop a rating or whatever?"
Well, you could, yeah,
you could. But I think AEW has been pretty cool about not doing that on shows and trying to make surprises legit and trying to make you. They might allude to something. Tony might say, "We got some big things in store" or whatever. For this week's on Dynamite, and some people then can kind of take that whatever direction they go and assume it's going to be this guy or that guy or whatever. But I think they've done a pretty good job. I mean, Punk, being the best example of that. I think there's ways to kind of throw in little things here and there, but not necessarily make it obvious that this guy's coming at this day and you could do that. You could obviously do that, but I think it'd be a lot cooler. And I appreciate that our AEW has done that so far, is keep these surprises a little bit under wraps to keep you on your toes a little bit too, but also make it that big monumental moment when those guys do eventually come back or that music hits again or whatever.
Yeah, I think now what you do is whoever is going to stick around, I mean, you strategically plot how you're going to bring them back, and you turn this pile of shit into lemonade and create some, some good storylines out of it and some intriguing directions out of the returns. So that would be the stage that we're at now that, possibly the decisions have been made on these people, or we still have all of these pending litigations and lawsuits and whatnot, and we're not anywhere near any kind of resolution.
Yeah. And for all the intents, like you said, the parties that got taken off of suspension were all guys that most likely didn't, were not aggressors in this situation, just kind of happened to be there or whatever. Those guys were like, and Ace Steel, probably the least important of the other names that were left in there. It's in terms of like people that were aggressive or people that were a part of the fight that we've heard, everybody else is way more important. So Ace Steel is probably the easiest one to just say, you know what, get out of here. Who cares? You got to go. If Punk doesn't like it too damn bad, Ace, you got to go. We don't have a long-term contract with you. We don't have a very, big deal, big, long, expensive contract with you. You're a lot easier to get rid of. And like you said, so all the easy people to kind of resolve have been resolved.
Our investigation has revealed that we have cause to terminate you,
right,
and once,
right. And he's the easiest one to just.
And if he's out there biting people and, being an instigator in the fight, and look, they gave this. What has it been? How many weeks has it been? Has it been 6 weeks,
or 7?
weeks?
I think it's 6 or 7 now. Yeah.
And they did this full investigation. And if they're protecting themselves legally by using the results of this independent, is it an independent investigation or is it a?
Guess as good as mine, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and now that they have cause to get rid of this guy, and they have, and maybe. And who knows? We don't know the details. They could have cut a deal with them before they got rid of him. I mean, I don't know anything. All we know that he's gone. So it just seems like these are all baby steps towards finally. And look, I know people disagree with me, but I said it a couple weeks ago. I don't really miss any of these people. I enjoy the show every week. I would love all of them to be back. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. Do I want Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and CM Punk to be on Dynamite? Yes, because it'll be an objectively better show with all 4 of those people. Do I need them back? Do I feel like the show is lacking those people? I really don't. That's how it's
not been a bleak show. There's a lot of people that have been doom and gloom about the show, with those guys not on there. And, Kenny Omega was gone for, a year anyway. And again, Kenny Omega's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but like they didn't miss a beat with him gone. Like they were just fine without him, and that speaks to AEW's talent and the booking and all that sort of stuff, that you didn't really miss Kenny Omega. Is it great having him back? Of course I want Kenny Omega back on television. The Bucks, I mean that it did feel like that was going to be a pretty big void, but now 6-7 weeks later, it's like, I really
don't think it is.
It's not. Yeah. And I was surprised. I kind of thought, because you had that thought like immediately. You said, if these guys are gone, then whatever, like it'll be fine. And I was initially like, I don't know. The Bucks are just such an important part of this show and the company, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'd love them on the show because they're the greatest tag team of all time. So of course I would love them. But no, do I think the show's been a drain without them there? No. And Punk, if that was how the Punk story ends, I think that's fine. We got, a year out of him, and it was really cool and it was really fun. And of course, yeah, if he comes back, it'll be fantastic, and you can restart the MJF stuff and all that. But yeah, I think he honestly is the guy I missed the least out of the show. Just because, if that was his story, like, I don't know, it's fine. Like, I think the roster is more than enough that you don't necessarily need him there. The Bucks do feel like a little bit more just because how synonymous they are with that brand and with that company. And Kenny Omega is like, personally, I would love to see him, but we just lived with him not being there for a year, and it was fine. Like, everybody got on just okay. So yeah, I'm with you. I was kind of surprised at how much I don't miss them in a way, but also, yeah, like you're saying, I think you and I both agree that we would love for them to be on the show. But yeah, does it now feel like a cold, dead, dying show without those guys? Not really. No, I think they've been
not
fine.
even close.
Yeah.
The show, I think the shows have been good since All Out. Really good for most of there are a couple weeks there that weren't great, but I think every week the show was like really fucking good. And when I watch the show, I don't feel like there's this giant void of people missing. I just feel like it's a good show every week. And again, that's not to say I don't want every one of them back. I would love to have all of them back on that show. If I had to put them in order, I miss the Bucks the least, then Omega, and I miss Punk the most.
Interesting. Okay, so we're almost the inverse then in that.
Yeah, I miss, but it's like the Bucks. I would say Omega and Punk are closer on my ranking. The Bucks, I honestly don't miss at all. I got to be honest. If the Bucks never come back, I think I'd be okay with that. But if they do come back, that'd be great too. I really don't miss the Bucks. I don't know. Punk, to me, there's just something still super special about him when he's on TV. And there's just a different energy, and there's just a different feel when Punk is around. And I think everything that he's involved with just feels bigger than everything else on the show. And the only other person in AEW who can come close to matching that is MJF. So that's why I say Punk. Because Punk, to me, when he's on the screen is, okay, kids, get out of the room. I need to pay attention. This is worth my time. Every time. So but again, if he never comes back, I don't feel like the show has this giant void of anything. I'm enjoying the show every week. But if I had to rank them out, that's the order I would put them in for my personal, that's not based on business. That's not based on, that's just my personal likes and dislikes and how I feel about these now that we haven't had these guys on the show for a while. I don't know. That's the order that I would put them in.
If you look for it, every day has cause for celebration. Celebrate a friend for their promotion, baby wedding, life thing. Celebrate yourself for keeping the couch warm. It's no easy feat, especially if it's a big couch. Or maybe you just want to celebrate living in 2022, where you can get beer, wine, and spirits delivered from Drizzly in under 60 minutes without leaving said couch. So download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And get your favorite drinks delivered today.
So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, still we still don't have any sort of insider transparency into what's going on with this, but yeah, it does feel like we're moving in that direction at least for whatever the next step of this is going to be, which is hopefully at least some of the guys coming back and returning. So that is AEW, and that is it for America for now. Let's get to. You want to do this TripleMania? You want to go to Mexico, Joe?
Yeah, let's do TripleMania.
Let's go to Mexico City here. TripleMania, the final TripleMania of the year. The realest of all the fake TripleManias. Happened obviously this weekend, October 15th. Available on Fight, voicesofwrestling.com/fight in both Spanish and English as well. The English announced team was Larry Dallas and Joe Dombrowski. I thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered. The production of it is kind of, did you watch the English or did you watch the Spanish feed?
I watched the Spanish feed.
Okay, yeah. So what they do for the English feed, and I feel bad because the content of what Joe and Larry are doing is very good, and they're very well researched, and Larry brings a ton of passion, and Joe brings a ton of passion as well. The problem, though, is the way that they do this is they basically just pipe in the Spanish feed and then lower the volume to 25, and then have these guys talk over it. So you're not hearing the crowd. You kind of hear the Spanish feed in the background as well. It's very low rent, and these guys deserve a little bit better. So figure it out, guys. Come on, pipe in an audio if it's Fight or if it's AAA. I don't know who's really leading the chart or leading production or whatever, but man, just give these guys their dedicated feed so we can hear the crowd, especially in a TripleMania, especially in a mass versus mass match like we had in the main event there, like Vikingo and Phoenix. You can't hear the crowd at all, and you just only hear these guys doing announcing, and it stinks because they sound like they're screaming for no reason when they're screaming because there's a hot crowd behind them doing stuff. So yeah, it's just production value needs a little bit of work for the English feed, but I thought Joe and Larry did a very good job. I just watched the final 3 matches of the night, but I thought they, thumbs up for the content of what they said, but, obviously a thumbs down for the production, which I'm sure those guys have no part in whatsoever. So,
yeah, obviously I can't comment on that. I didn't watch that feed, but as far as the show itself, you watched what, the top 3?
I watched, starting with the hair versus hair and the whole way down. So I did not see anything else on the show.
So I jumped in with the 4-way tag team match.
Okay.
And then I watched the 3-way trios match. And I don't have any exciting thoughts about either of those. I kind of talked about it in the preview. I'm over these kinds of matches. It's very similar to... It's similar, but not the same at all as the NXT War Games matches and what I just talked about. It's a sensory overload. It's bodies flying all over the place. It's almost impossible for anyone to stand out. And I just, I can't get into these kinds of matches anymore, especially because AAA does these matches to death. So Rich, I have no thoughts. I know that's terrible audio. I have nothing to say about those 2 matches that had 9,000 people in them and bodies flying everywhere, and they made no impression on me positively,
especially
or negatively.
In this company too. Like matches like that, my eyes glaze over in all those matches and all those companies now, but especially in this company, my eyes will glaze. Yeah. And that's why I just thought, you know what? And I probably had time to watch these, but I was like, I don't really need to. I read reviews and nothing seemed that exciting from the people that I read, and we had a review up at voicesofwrestling.com from Griffin, which really, really good review, so definitely check that out. But even in his review, it was just like, yeah, there's not much that really sounds like I need to go out of my way to check out.
I'd much rather see these people broken off into, just give me a 2-on-2 tag match, give me a trios match. But that's not AAA's style. We all know that. So Taya Valkyrie and Camille had their match, and it was, there was a lot of plunder. It was a lot of Rich, it sucked, is what I'm trying to say.
Like it sucked, yes.
I'm
not shocked by that revelation, but yeah.
It wasn't good. Good for Camille getting the booking and all that. It was a AAA match. That's what it was. A lot of plunder, a lot of dragging each other around and doing stupid shit, and it just wasn't very good. So, again, a great review from JL with the Taya Valkyrie Camille match. But I don't have a lot to add. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't think it was very good. So then we get into the meat of the show, the business end, where Rich can jump in. The hair versus hair match, which, I said this was either going to be fucking great or just a total awful train wreck. And to me, it was the latter, especially the finish.
I was going to say, so here's where I come in. I agree with you ultimately, but there was a point while this match was going on, maybe 10 minutes in, where I'm like, you know what? I'm actually enjoying this. These guys are just beating the fuck out of each other. It's a little sloppy, but it's fucking Pagano and Cibernetico. Like, of course it's going to be a little sloppy, a little weird. But then I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of into this. And then the last 15 minutes of the match happened, including the last
forever,
and it just kept going on, and guys kept coming out.
Yeah, the shit with Conan,
and then it became AAA. I was like, you know what, this isn't bad. And then it was like, oh, it's Conan with a tire iron or whatever the hell, some weapon he had. He can't move, so he's just like slowly hitting people. And then Vampiro's out, and this guy's out, and then Vampiro's counting the fall, and he's now the referee. And I'm like, oh my god, what has happened here? And then it just wouldn't end. It would not end at that point. I was like, go home. We've had enough. We did not need Pagano and Cibernetico to go 21 minutes and 43 seconds.
Then they fall in a hole, and we don't know who won. And
right. It just became AAA. And that's what I'm saying. Did you agree with me that at one point this match was like kind of okay, or did you think it sucked from the beginning?
No, I mean, it started off all right. It started off exactly how I thought it would be, just a bloody brawl.
Yeah, which was great. And then it became AAA. And then I was like, all right, I'm watching AAA. So, of course, it's going to be a fucking disaster. Vampiro is going to be out. Conan's going to be out. Weird things are going to happen, and we won't ultimately know who even won the match. So,
yeah.
Great.
So, at the end of the day, I hated it. And Pagano wins, and then...
Oh, I was livid after this. So Pagano won, but they Cibernetico, they took him out on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, shave his head.
I thought this fucker was going to go to the back and never get his head shaved. And they were going to tell you, go, come next week and we'll shave his head or whatever. I was like, these fuckers, they got to do it. But they did, luckily. I hope the live crowd got to see this because they did backstage. Pagano went back there and said, no, you got to shave your head. So they shaved his head backstage. But that's not you got to shave it in the ring, right?
Yeah, it's all horseshit. First of all, we need to be able to see who wins the match. Can we start there?
That's a good way to start, yes.
And number two, you get a hair versus hair match. The man has to be in the ring getting his head shaved. I mean, you can't do this on a fucking video board. It's just a mess. Just a total mess.
It's just AAA.
Yeah.
It's matches like this that remind me, all right, this is why I never watched AAA.
So Vikingo versus Rey Fenix. Vikingo just constantly invents shit that you've never seen before in your life, and you have to go on Twitter and watch the GIFs to even comprehend what he just did a lot of the time. A lot of the time he'll do something and you're like, did my eyes just see what they thought? Did he go off the middle rope and then go do this? And then you're like, yeah, that's what he did. He just invents things.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
There was one during this where Phoenix was on the outside and he springboarded from the ring to the second rope on the outside and then did a reverse senton. And I was like, what? How do you even do that? And I had to watch it 7 times to figure out what the fuck he just did or why he did it or whatever. And and he hit it perfectly, of course. No problem at all. Didn't hit his head. Didn't, looked great. Perfect. Yeah, he is something special.
Yeah. And, this was a spectacle. Am I going to sit here and tell you that they told the greatest pro wrestling story in this one? They did not. But if you just want to see truly state-of-the-art creative flying and just utter fucking madness from arguably the 2 best aerial wrestlers in the world, and you're just going to turn your brain off and enjoy the flips and enjoy the things that nobody else in the world can do that they're doing to each other, then, this is great, but, I will say, though, I probably didn't enjoy this as much as everybody else did.
No, okay. That was my hot take.
I'm sorry I stepped all over.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Because I kind of was like, man, I wonder if Joe's going to love this thing. And I was watching it and I was thinking, yeah, Joe's probably going to agree with me on this, but we'll see what ends up happening when the audio comes. But yeah, I was just kind of I've seen a lot of people say it's their match of the year or whatever. And that's fine. Again, that's your match of the year. That's your match of the year.
And I understand where they're coming from.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was, like you said, a spectacle is the best way to put it. It was insane. Yeah. It was from the moment the bell rang, these guys just decided, let's do crazy shit that only Rey Fenix and Vikingo can do. And they did that. And then 20 minutes of them doing shit that only these guys can do. But ultimately, I don't know, it was over and I was just kind of yeah, I don't know.
Did it leave you a little empty?
It did leave me empty. And I don't know if that's just me, as a wrestling fan these days, where I'm just no, I need a little bit more, I need a little more juice. I need a little bit more story. But I don't know, there's probably another generation of me. There's a me 10 years ago that sees this match and says, yeah, it's my match of the year. It's one of the greatest matches. But I don't know. I watched it and I was just kind of
if you see this match 10 years ago, it's the greatest match you've ever seen in your life.
Right, of course.
I mean, because, and that's the thing. But we've seen so much now that it's almost like matches like this leave me a little empty, while at the same time I can totally appreciate what I just saw. It's weird. It's hard to explain and it's weird. But, I'm not trying to trash the match. I'm just saying, I saw a lot of people throwing 5s at this. And, that I don't know if this kind of match is ever going to make me feel like that at this stage of my fandom, I guess. is the way. I'm becoming like a fucking PWO poster.
I know this is. I'm like, I want some good punches and a good story. I'm like, oh no, that was going on in that match. Is I was like, oh, this isn't really working for me. Like for that. With that being said, I thought it was good. Like it's good as hell. Yeah. It's just not like a fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very, very good match. It's just not like I sat down and said like, all right, here we go. This is going to be like, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. This is going to be it's going to destroy my top 10. I'm definitely putting this. And then it just ended, and I was like, yeah, that was cool. That was good. I'm glad I watched it. And then
a little empty.
Yeah, and that, like, as that was going on, I was just like, oh no, I've become my worst enemy. Like, these are the people I was arguing with. But, like, I don't know. It's just, like I said, maybe it's me maturing as a fan or seeing different things or liking different things or whatever. Maturing is maybe not the right word, but just changing what I like, different things. I don't know. I've seen a lot of matches that have this sort of style to them, but have a little bit more, more weight to them.
Meat on the bones.
Yeah. Where this is just, this is a spectacle, but I don't know. Yeah, like was it inherently all that much different than like Ricochet and Will Ospreay from the Best of the Super Juniors? You know what I mean? Like, probably not. Like, it had stuff that those guys can't do and didn't do, but like it's still the same idea as like
it's the evolution of that.
Right, two guys go out there and do a bunch of crazy shit that only they can do, and that's cool. But like, I guess I just needed a little bit more out of it than I got. And ultimately, when it was done, I was like, yeah, it was good. I'm glad I watched it, but yeah, it did not reach anywhere near like 5 stars or Match of the Year level at all for me. But I have seen that from people that I do trust.
Yeah, this won't come anywhere close to my top 10 or anything like that. But I wasn't like waiting for the match to end. I wasn't like, oh, I hate this, let's move on. I enjoyed it. But, it was the best way I can put it is it was an interesting spectacle is what it was. So that's the main event, the mask match. It brings us to our main event. So Pentagon Jr.
Here's how I knew I was a PWO guy. I think I like the main event better than I like Vikingo.
Go ahead.
I liked it. I don't know why. I guess I've become like the
floor is yours.
The tear the mask off lucha guy. I don't know. There was just, was it spectacular or great? No, but it had a little bit more. I don't know. It just had that meat on the bone, like we were talking about. The weight to it felt a little bit more. And
listen, I'm not cutting you off, but what I will tell you is you are not alone. A lot of people did have this as their match of the night as well.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know why. I never would I have ever thought that I would think that, but I kind of liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought the story of Pentagon, being the young guy and Viano being kind of the aggressor and the aggressive veteran or whatever. And yeah, you had to have Pentagon take most of the match because Viano can't really take big bumps and so you had Viano basically just hit this guy with shit until he was bleeding and rip his mask and cut him open anymore and throw him into a table and hit him with this. Like, I didn't think I was going to like all that stuff. And then I kind of did. And then the drama towards the end was really, really good. With Pentagon trying to break Viano's arm, doing the arm break thing, doing it twice, but Viano still not giving up and still not tapping out and still not being able to get pinned. You did have AAA, so you had the weird thing where Pentagon taps out and then the referee goes, no, that tap didn't count as a tap or whatever. Which
hated it.
I was just like, what are you doing? Just Pentagon, it's Viano 4. Like, it's okay. Like,
hated it.
You have to protect Viano. Viano 4, he's gonna lose his mask, and the man's like 67 years old. It's okay. You don't have to protect him with this false finish. I hated that. That's the part that really drove, because I thought they were telling a great story up until that point, and then from that point forward, and luckily it was only like 2 more minutes left in it, and then it really didn't matter that much more, because you had the fake, tap out, the fans are livid or whatever, and then Pentagon just gets in there and does, break the arm, quote unquote, of Viano, and then pins him, and then it's finally over. And Viano loses and loses his mask, and mask versus mask matches are just incredible anyway. Just the atmosphere and the emotion afterwards, and you have to count that. You have to count that. We always say that in mask versus mask matches, you absolutely have to count the post match in part of your match rating. And this one in particular, with so much legacy with the Viano name, him taking that mask off and revealing his true identity, which wasn't that much of a secret given that his family legacy or whatever. But still, it was still an important moment and really cool to see. So I liked it. I'm probably 4 on the Vikingo Rey Fenix and probably like 4.25 on this. So it's not like I really, really love this one way more than the other match, but I don't know. It worked for me a little bit more than the Vikingo and Phoenix match, which I never in a million years thought would happen.
Well, I mean, you did give it 4 stars. That's an incredible rating.
Yeah.
This match is going to make noise in our match of the year poll. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
The tone coming out of it. People were really jacked up about it. Now, I hate to be the buzzkill again, but this just did not do for me what it did for everybody else. I didn't dislike it. Let me be clear. I didn't dislike it. There were things about it I didn't like at all, and they were all AAA-ish things. Right now, I just prefer CMLL when it comes to my lucha. AAA just has this element of filth and trash around it that I don't like. It's just the general energy of the promotion just does not mesh with what I want out of my wrestling right now. And that bled into this match a little bit. No pun intended, bled. They worked really hard, and give Viano 4 a lot of credit, and give Pentagon a lot of credit for really carrying this thing with such an old wrestler that he was in there with. And I'm not saying that it wasn't, I'm not saying that it was, it's so hard to review stuff like this because I really struggle with these super old wrestlers who the younger guys are clearly slowing down so that the older guy can keep up.
Right.
And that really, it fucks with my suspension of disbelief. It just does. And, it just didn't hit for me like it did for everyone else. I wouldn't come anywhere close to putting this in my notebook. This isn't a 4-star match to me. Because it just, I hated the sequence that you talked about, and I thought it was a little too long, and but at the same time, I did enjoy it on some level. It just didn't land for me the aftermath of this was everybody just going ape shit and again throwing 5 stars at it in some cases, and match of the year, and I get where people are coming from, but I don't know. I just think I'm over watching 65-year-old guys struggle to wrestle. I just think I'm done with it. And I understand that the way that this one was worked and laid out, that it kind of, worked around that. And I understand why there's appeal to watching a legend give it that one last go. But I'd rather it's for me, I would have rather have seen Viano 4 in there with one of his contemporaries having this match. It's hard for me to watch a guy at his physical prime, at the peak of his stardom, work down to this old guy.
Right, especially Pentagon, who you've seen just have incredible matches and incredible, the rate at which he wrestles, when he's in there with Phoenix and when he's in there with the Box and when he's in there with other guys that you've seen is night and day between this match where he had to be kind of at a snail's pace to sort of, let Viano keep up. I totally get that. I do. Yeah. And that is something that definitely usually is a hang up with me. I just don't know. For this one in particular, it just kind of worked for me a little bit more than they usually do. And I don't know if that's, Viano, them, going really early into Viano, basically just hitting the guy with shit to try to knock him down right away. And that being the idea that, okay, I can't hang with Pentagon one-on-one, but I can, if I knock him down and get blood in his eye or whatever, then I can have a little bit of a fighting chance or whatever. So I think they structured it as well as they could. Viano is only 57, but I said 67 earlier, only 57. So
he looked about 70.
He did look about 70 when he unmasked. So that's where I got the mistake there. Only 57, but no, I think they structured it in a way that didn't bother me that much, but I'm with you. I think I would have probably preferred Viano versus, somebody else, but I don't know. The young versus old story in this case kind of worked for me. I think they did a good job of structuring it.
Listen, you're with the consensus. I'm the one that's out to lunch here, and I know people are going to be shit talking me and subtweeting me all week and everything about it. But I have to be honest. When I break these things down, I didn't love it. I don't know. I thought it was okay, but and it's not like I'm mystified that everybody else loved it. I totally fucking get it. While I'm watching the match, I'm thinking people are going to love this match. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there thinking, but this is not really working for me. And, so I don't know. That's, I get it, but not a match I'll ever really think about again. There were some good visuals, at the end. There's now an iconic picture of Pentagon holding up the mask and he's covered in blood, and that's cool visual and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know. It was the last 2 matches really kind of saved the show for sure, because this was trending to be a terrible show until the final 2 matches, which couldn't have been more different than one another either. 2 drastically different matches, but 2 matches that different segments of fans are really going to love, and turn this from being a really terrible show to what I think most people came away from calling a really good show. And that's what strong matches at the top of the card can do. We talk about that all the time. If your show finishes strong, that can really cover up a lot of warts underneath. People want the money, the business end of a card to really deliver, and that can make up for the other 75% of a show just being shit. And this show was a good example of that.
Is this show going to make me start regularly watching AAA? It will not. It will definitely not. I am in for watching a little bit more CMLL moving forward because I liked what I've seen as from them as of late. But I think my AAA watching will extend. It will only extend to TripleManias moving forward. I never come away from a AAA show saying, "Yeah, I need more of this in my life." So it's fine. But,
well, there's no more TripleManias.
There's no more TripleManias this year. Yeah, so hopefully they go back to the one TripleMania, so I only have to watch one of their shows every year. It's just there's so it's AAA. It's just trash. You know what I mean? It's
very trashy.
It's just loud. There's weird cuts all the time. The production's kind of bad. Vampiro's there. I don't really want to see Vampiro.
It's Game Changer with a good roster.
Yeah. It's like guys that I love watch wrestling, but they're in Game Changer wrestling, so I just don't want to watch it.
It's Game Changer with a good roster is what AAA is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to put it.
Like you watch a good match and then somehow it just gets fucked up for no reason, just because they have to make something fucked up. So yeah, it is what it is. But there you go. That was TripleMania. Again, the review from Griffin up at voicesofwrestling.com. And if you want to watch the replay, voicesofwrestling.com/fight. So I can do that both in Spanish and English. So let's quickly, and then we'll do the last part of the show. We'll talk about Wrestling 101 and the Observer Hall of Fame. Let's quickly talk about Karl Anderson here. Machine Gunka is double booked, Joe. WWE booked Karl Anderson on WWE's next Saudi show, which is a very rich booking for him, which just so happens to be the same day as New Japan Battle Autumn. Whoops. So Anderson was set to defend his never openweight title on against Hikuleo on that night. Is he going to be able to go from Saudi Arabia to Japan? No, he's not doing any of that. So he cut a promo. Anderson and Gallows cut a promo online saying that they would not be there on November 5th. The quote was from Gallows. He says, "You guys announced Bright Lights, the Machine Gun Karl Anderson, for a match on November 5th. Guess what? We're just a little double booked because you didn't run it through me. So you ain't coming. We're not coming unless it's on our time." And then Karl Anderson said in that video, New Japan Pro Wrestling, "Listen, I love what you've done for the Good Brothers throughout these years, but let me tell you something. I am the greatest never openweight champion of all time. I only work when the lights are bright, and November 5th, we ain't coming. We'll come on our time. The Machine Gun will tell you when I'm coming to defend my championship." And then
for him to cut a promo like that, which is a total work, there's obviously a deal in place for him to go drop the title at another date.
Exactly. Right. So, and you could tell too, like if people think that this is real and Machine Gunka's shooting or whatever, like Rocky Romero, like, there was a screenshot DM where he's like, "Just drop the title, Karl, come on." You know what I mean? Yeah. And Chris Charlton's like talking shit to him and stuff. So they're playing it up, which is fine and good. But yeah, it's not like, this guy's not holding his title hostage. They're making the best of the
situation is what they're doing.
Karl's saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this show instead of Battle Autumn, but like, how about I show up on this day, or we do it on this or whatever." It's led to like dumb, wild speculation that people for some reason keep doing, like, "Oh, they're going to do it at WrestleMania." It's like, I don't think Hikuleo's beating Karl Anderson at WrestleMania, but
I personally think it's bad business. I think that, okay, look, they were free agents and available to be signed. I don't blame them for signing a deal that was advantageous to them. I don't blame WWE for signing them because, they were available and that's the risk you take if you're New Japan, if you're going to put a title on somebody who you don't have locked up. So I don't have any sympathy for them for that standpoint. The problem I have with it and why I think it's bad business is from WWE's standpoint. They just have they have no regard for anybody else. It's the guy was already booked, and
they used to. What's weird is they used to be good about this. Like even in the Vince era, they used to say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to sign you, finish your bookings, and when you're done." Yeah. I mean, famously the Summer of Punk. That all became because they said, "You know what? You got 2 more months. Do whatever you got to do, and then when you're ready, come." And they would always do that. Paul hasn't really followed that same edict. Yeah, a lot of he's to an extent he's followed it, but there's been other times too where he has just not followed it whatsoever. And as of late, the last 3, 4, 5 years, they haven't given a shit what the hell you have to do or whatever. When they want you, and they don't have to book him for the Saudi Arabia show. The Good Brothers cannot be on the Saudi Arabia. That's fine. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will be okay. You know what I mean? If the Good Brothers are not on that show, they just don't give a shit. So they booked him on the show, and then Karl probably said, whoa, guys, I got that. And they said, well, no, you're not doing that. You got to come to the Saudi show. And that's bullshit. That kind of sucks. So I wouldn't work with these guys. I would say, well, he doesn't have the title anymore. Send us back the title whenever you can or whatever. Or just say, keep the title, we'll make a new one, and then cut them out of your lives and move on. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing any business with these guys or negotiating with them on any level whatsoever.
Well, it could be a situation where Anderson wanted to work the Japan show, but he's under contract to these guys now, and they're telling him he has to go to the Saudi show. And, again, it's not that I think, look, WWE, they're well within their rights to book this guy whenever and however they want, and Anderson is well within his rights to sign a contract with whoever he wants if he's a free agent. I just don't think it's good business for WWE to double book the guy when, you knew when you signed him that he had these other bookings already in place. And look, they don't have to do that. They can do whatever they want, but I just think it's bad business. And I don't think, people will get mad, but I don't think Tony Khan would do this. I think, ultimately Jon Moxley worked that match with Nick Gage. Okay. Did Khan manipulate a finish where the firm got involved and did he not allow his world champion to lose clean? Yeah, but ultimately he worked the match. He was booked for the match, he showed up for the match, and he worked the match. And that's a recent example, right? And it's like, if I'm New Japan and maybe, Karl is apologetic and maybe that's why they're going to allow him to come back and do this, I would just wipe my hands of this situation. The title's not important enough. He's not important enough. I would just say, mail me our title back and we're done. We're done here. I'd wash my hands of him. I'd wish him the best of luck. And then I'd stick Hikuleo in there with whoever the fuck in a decision match and get wherever I was going with this story and put the title on Hikuleo. That's what I would do. Okay. Maybe New Japan sees it from the perspective of, well, now this is kind of a story and maybe we can do a little business here because this is getting more attention than it would have gotten normally. I don't know how they're looking at it. But to me, I'd be so put off by all of this, and it's not important enough for me to stress over, that I would just say FedEx me the belt, and you guys go do whatever you want to do. That's how I would. Plus, considering, the effort or lack thereof that he put into the Tanahashi match, this guy's shit was checked out anyway. You know what? Yeah, you signed that. That's great. You want to be there? Then you're there. But now you're done here. Just send me my belt. And it's not a big deal to me that he doesn't drop it because it's only the never belt anyway. I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Especially, it being this belt, I feel like there's probably too much effort being put into this that probably doesn't. Just strip him the title and move. I mean, no one's going to care. No one really cares that much. And I just don't know if it's that advantageous to do this thing because I don't know. It's just I'm trying to see it from New Japan's perspective of why they feel that they have to sort of negotiate or work with this in any way. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I just it's just not great business to me. It's because when you sign the guys, you knew they had these bookings. It's kind of just a dick move, and they're well within their rights to do it. Like, they don't have to care about any of this, but now it's obvious that they don't, but now they can't be surprised when they reach out to New Japan to try to work with them and they opt to work with AEW instead, like what happened last year, because no one can trust these guys because they do shitty things like this, and they don't even attempt to be, they don't even attempt to be a good part. This is just dirty. It feels scuzzy to me. So I don't know. That's my stance on it. Maybe there's more beneath the surface that we don't know that makes more of this make some sense. But I don't know. I just don't think it's important enough to where I'd work around it. I just tell them to mail the fucking thing back and hit the bricks. And I would never use Karl Anderson again.
Oh, no. You got to be done now. Right. You have to tell him, okay, this is it. we're done forever.
I understand the history. I get that. But, that would be it for me.
No, we're working when you have a title and not doing the booking when, that's stuff where, and Karl too can, he's probably not speaking up to WWE either and saying, oh, no, I can't do the Saudi day. He's probably just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Who cares? Fuck it. Yeah, book me wherever you want. Who cares? He clearly doesn't care about the
I don't know.
title.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is a pilot, but it doesn't matter because, he made the decision. They made the decision to go, and they ran when Daddy Paul called them, and that's fine. That's okay. But now I won't do business with you anymore. That's all. That's the consequence of this. You made a decision. That's fine, but you put us in a real bad spot, and we got to change our plans now. And there's got to be consequences to actions, and the consequences are, me personally, I would never use those guys again. But maybe that's just me.
So that is the Karl Anderson thing. We'll see what ends up happening with that when the title eventually gets moved over or changed or whatnot. But so for the final two topics of the show here, as we have about another 45 minutes or so, let's talk about the Wrestling 101 project. So there's a really cool new project that we have going on at voicesofwrestling.com. I think you guys should all be reading it and following it if you are not already. It's headed up by Robin Reed and Kevin Hare, two writers for our website. The Wrestling 101 project, it's 101 wrestling matches that we kind of collectively sort of argued about and discussed, and those guys ultimately had the final decision on them, but different matches were presented and stuff. And essentially what it is going to be, and this is from Robin's intro, all the stuff is available at voicesofwrestling.com or the wrestling101.com as well. We got an official website just for this project as well. It says, quote, as wrestling nerds, we built up a base of matches that serve as touchstones for how we understand wrestling and often reference or even use shorthand to discuss other matches. It explicitly isn't a list of matches that we feel are the 101 best wrestling matches in history. That would be another project altogether. Instead, the Wrestling 101 project highlights matches we feel aid the most in engaging with wrestling discussion. This list aims to help people fill in gaps, understand why matches are important, and serve as a jumping off point for further discovery. So, Joe, have you checked out any of the Wrestling 101 stuff yet?
So it's not like a list of the 101 greatest matches of all time in order from 1 to 100.
Right, no. And there's been some people that have been confused by that, thinking, oh, well, that match is one of the best 101 matches of all time. No, that's not the idea at all. These are matches that you probably should, if you're a wrestling fan and you love this shit as much as we love this shit, these are the 101 matches that you should probably
These are the 101 most essential matches that you
right. You should watch these matches at some point in your life to be a complete wrestling fan. And the way that they've done it, which I think is really, really cool, is they've put them in groups of different matches. So the one that just came out today is Unique Spectacles. And in that, again, it's not the 101 greatest matches of all time, but they're matches that for some reason, one reason or another, and they're spelled out in the articles as well, and there's a write-up about every single match, that are, unique spectacles that you probably should watch if you're a professional wrestling fan, like Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell. Traditionally, is that a great match? No, but it's one that you should probably have seen sometime in your life. Stan Hansen versus Andre the Giant in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Again, a match that does not fit the traditional mold of a quote unquote great wrestling match, but unique spectacle. There's that right there. It's Stan Hansen and Andre the Giant, and Stan Hansen slamming Andre the Giant before it was cool or marketable to do that. Atsushi Onita versus Terry Funk, the Time Bomb death match. I mean, one of the more famous death matches of all time, and a match that. What's great about this Unique Spectacles one, and what I really love about this particular grouping, is that you have a match that number 4, Onita and Terry Funk, a match that is not dangerous at all, but is all built on the idea of danger and the emotion and the tension of what's going to happen when that timer goes off, and will these men die or whatever. And ultimately, nobody gets that hurt, and it's all about just building up to those moments. Well, also on this list is match number 6, which is the Fire Road match, Mr. Danger, Jun Kasai versus Nick Gage and Zandig, where dudes are literally like actually getting in tremendous pain and doing just insane shit. So it's just kind of two ends of the deathmatch spectrum there, where you have a deathmatch where guys are legitimately lighting themselves on fire and doing just horrific stuff to each other, and then a match where ultimately nothing is happening that's that big of a deal, but it's all about the tension and the time and all that sort of stuff. So it's the emotion of that match. And then match number 5, Unique Spectacle, is Danshoku Dino and Yoshihiko, or Yoshi. How the hell did you pronounce that? Yoshihiko. Yoshihiko is the doll, right? Yoshihiko. Yeah. I always get that mixed up. Versus the Golden Lovers from DDT in 2009. So again, another spectacle where it's like the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi having like a wrestling match with a wrestling dummy, you know what I mean? A doll, a blow up doll, and all about, working that. So that's what it's all about is these matches that aren't necessarily, like you said, they're not the 101 greatest matches of all time, but they're 101 matches that we sort of argued and bandied about, that these are the essential matches if you're a wrestling fan, you should watch these and you will be a learned, educated pro wrestling fan. So what's cool about this as well is in all those matches, there's also a further viewing list as well. So it's like, hey, if you've never seen this match or you like this match or whatever, here are other matches that you could check out that are in the same genre as well. So it's really cool, and I've been able to see all the matches that are listed, and there's going to be matches that I think people are going to get upset about because they're always going to go back to the idea that this is just a match of the greatest matches of all time, but it's really just about educating people. So to me, it's very similar to your match of the week project that we have at flagshippatreon.com, where every single week you bring up a match that is significant for one reason or another, but is significant in educating a wrestling fan that maybe has never seen this before. And I think this week's match was really cool. Sergeant Slaughter and Kernoodle, which we'll get into our Hall of Fame discussion a little bit, but it's really important to see the Kernoodle and Sergeant Slaughter story arc and leading up to the big matches that those guys are going to have and stuff. So I like this idea that we at on flagshippatreon.com and at voiceswrestling.com are trying like hell to do these kind of big projects to just educate wrestling fans. And there's a lot of people that we take for granted. We always do this. We take for granted that a lot of wrestling fans watch everything and have seen everything. And when they start getting into this, hobby, they just dive head first and watch everything they could possibly watch. And that's not the case. We reference stuff all the time. And people are like, what the hell is that? Who's that? Who's this guy? I've never heard that guy. And it's kind of mind boggling, but now we're giving you a very easy opportunity to educate yourself a lot of different ways. And that's what this Wrestling 101 and really your match of the week, I think, does as well.
Yeah, it's Slaughter and Canoodle versus Steamboat and Youngblood from the Final Conflict show in Greensboro, which is a very famous match, one of the most famous matches of that era. And a packed house, overflow crowd, caused traffic jams locally, and it's the blow-off match to that great feud. And I chose that as match of the week because the Observer ballot came out, and Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood are on there as a tag team. And we'll talk about that's our next segment, so I'll hold off on that. But the Wrestling 101 project, I think that Kevin and Rob did a tremendous job. I mean, they put so much effort into this, and we were all part of the process to some degree in lobbying for certain matches, and they would kick ideas off of us. But this was their baby. Yeah. I mean, it's
been going on for months, by the way. If you think that those two guys got together and just said, hey, here's matches, what do you guys think? And we said, what about this one? No, this was like, all right, today we're going to argue about these 7 matches. And then people would go, yeah, you know what I mean?
And there were a lot of tough decisions that had to be made. And I think that the final list is a very good one. Of course, I would swap out a few, but everybody has their own opinions. I think they did a tremendous job hitting every style of wrestling, and really, again, would a lot of these matches make a list of the best 101 matches in wrestling history? Yes. Yeah, a lot of them would, and a lot of them will as the project moves along. But that's not the idea or the intent. These are the 100 most essential matches to a wrestling fan's, viewing over the course of their lifetime, matches you really should see. And for one reason or another, and the groupings that they're doing really help explain why these matches were chosen as one of the 101 most essential matches of all time. So I think they did a great job. It's a fun project. I like the slow roll aspect of it, where we're not giving away the whole list at once. And yeah, there are matches there's matches that I haven't seen among the 101 that now I'm going to make sure that I make an effort to see. I've seen the vast majority of them. Some of them I haven't seen in years, if not decades, and some I haven't seen at all for one reason or another. It just wasn't my style, or I wasn't into those kind of matches at the time, or whatever the case may be, or it just slipped through the cracks. But a tremendous project, an interesting project. It's like nothing anyone has ever really done before on this scale. And I saw the effort that went into it. I gave my 2 cents when I was asked, and so did you, and so did many others. But then we all just stayed out of it. And those 2 guys did just an outstanding job. I've seen the final list as well, and whether you agree with the final list or not, I'm telling you that the effort was outstanding, and they genuinely tried to do their absolute best, and I think they came away with a tremendous list.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that pretty much if you could take time, I would say try to watch every single match on this list. I'm going to do the same thing because, like you said, there are matches that I look at the list and I go, oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that match. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to check out. We obviously we're going to try to find as much opportunity to whether they're on Daily Motion or YouTube or whatever, and a lot of them are readily available on different sources and whatnot. I mean, most of the time we're not going to give you like some scuzzy weird link. We'll try to find the most easy link.
Try
possible.
Our best.
Yeah, but.
One thing I like that they did too was they didn't intentionally try to shoehorn things in or people in. It was kind of like, hey, we don't have to have a match from this particular all-time legend if they don't happen to have a match that fits the criteria. So,
what I found interesting too is like when we first announced that we were doing it, we did it on our Discord, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, you got to have all 6, Tanahashi matches," and they were like, "No, we don't. Like that's not the point of the project to have. The project doesn't get released, and there's 7 of the matches are the same 2 guys back and forth. That's not the point at all."
Right. That too. And it's just because something is an all-time great match might not make it a good fit for this particular project where it's an essential match. Right. Now, a lot of all-time great matches are included. I can tell you that. But, there were situations where there were some wrestlers that weren't represented, and it was like, oh, well, it's just the way it's going to fall then. This person might have a bunch of great matches, but they might not have 101 most essential matches to your viewers. So, the effort was outstanding, and I really do think it's a great project, and I hope a lot of people pay attention to it, and I hope a lot of people watch a lot of matches that they haven't gotten around to watching before, even matches that they didn't know existed. So, I know I'm going to watch a lot of matches that I haven't seen ever or in a long time as a result of it.
Yeah, it's just about education. It's all about just, and having fun and learning new stuff.
History.
And seeing people and embracing wrestling history, because there's a lot there. And it's becoming less and less cool to embrace history in a lot of aspects in sports and especially in wrestling as well. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of guys that are historical guys that are making it that way. Like there's a lot, this whole week has been a bunch of me having to decide why the hell people give a shit about Dutch Mantel and what he has to say or whatever. But like, it's those guys that are making people say, these old curmudgeons, these idiots, they don't know anything. And it's like, that doesn't, just because some guys from the past are dumb about wrestling doesn't mean that you shouldn't embrace wrestling history and learn wrestling history, because it'll make you a better wrestling fan today. Because a lot of stuff that is going on today, a lot of the reasons why things happen, a lot of the characters, a lot of the promos, a lot of the matches, a lot of the structure of the companies, all that sort of stuff is all obviously rooted in that history. So it's
you know what? This is a great transition to our next topic. I can give you a perfect example of that. We just talked about how our match of the week this week is Don Kernodle and Sergeant Slaughter defending the NWA Tag Team titles against Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood at Final Conflict. And Steamboat and Youngblood, they win the titles, they win the blow-off, and they immediately move into a feud with, well, not immediately, but then the Briscoes turn heel, okay? And then they move into a feud with the Briscoes. And today I spent basically my whole day watching a history of the Briscoes heel turn. And then
I watched like an hour of that too. You know how I didn't watch the TripleMania undercard?
Because you watched that.
I watched that damn video of the Briscoes. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It's so good.
And then I watched a bunch of the Briscoes versus Steamboat and Youngblood matches. And when you watch through their Kernodle Slaughter feud with Steamboat and Youngblood, and then as it transitions into Steamboat and Youngblood versus the Briscoes, I'm watching all of this over the last few days, and there are just so many Tony Khan fingerprints in what he does today and the way he books AEW in those two feuds. And you can see where Tony Khan, and it's the same thing when I watch Mid-South a lot of the time. It's the same thing when I watch a lot of stuff and I'm like, something AEW is doing is so similar to this angle from 1982 or 1983. And I'm not sure that a lot of fans realize how much influence Tony Khan draws in his booking from a lot of this stuff. And I think,
from day one we called him Mid-South Tony. So
yeah, and it's funny because it's like, and I think in a lot of ways that's why for a lot of your WWE hardcore WWE fans or younger fans, I think that's why they either, now some of them are bad faith. I leave them out of this, but I think that's why some people don't understand AEW's booking patterns because, and maybe that's why people like us do understand the way Tony Khan books and the way that AEW tells their long-term stories, because we enjoy wrestling history. We go back and watch this stuff, and we've been fans for a longer period of time, or we went back and watched the history, and we see those fingerprints all over it. Whereas a lot of people only know one booking style. The booking
right. And AEW does not follow the beats that WWE follows. Like they
even
don't.
Close.
They don't. And that it throws a lot of people off because it's not the paint by numbers, beat by beat. Like WWE has a structure to how most of their feuds go and how most of their matches go and that sort of stuff. And AEW doesn't follow that, and people think that then that's inherently wrong because it's not WWE style. That's not true.
Or they don't get it, or they think it's wrong, or they think it's the wrong way to do it, or they just don't understand it, or they don't think stories are being told when they really are being told. And I think that is a part of the reason. And it goes back to something we brought up last week when we were talking about Helwani, when Helwani said matter-of-factly, like it was just a given, like he just thought Khan was going to agree with him when he said, I think we could all agree that the Monday Night Wars were easily the best period in wrestling history. And Tony Khan kicked back. He said, no, actually, I would disagree with that. I would say it's the 80s. And Helwani was like taken aback by that. Like there is a certain segment of fans who just, wrestling history begins in 1997. And anything before that didn't exist, isn't paid attention to, because that's what they're told, and that's where either, when they grew up, or it's been, emphasized so hard by WWE, and that's where history starts. And that's another example of, someone like Tony Khan drawing his influence from the entirety of wrestling history and not just what happened since 1997, since Stone Cold Steve Austin, since the Monday Night War. And I think that might be where someone like Ariel Helwani, who's obviously a wrestling fan, maybe that's why he prefers WWE right now and why he's surprised that anyone would prefer what AEW is doing. Because like you're saying, he only understands their method of storytelling, their story beats, their pay-per-view cycle to pay-per-view cycle style of storytelling, their subtlety hammer style of storytelling, their, over-the-top ways of telling story. And because they just weren't exposed to other ways, because for 20 years there was only one game in town. So I guess what I'm trying to say with my long diatribe here is projects like the Wrestling 101, and now that the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame ballots are out, and we're going to do all that Hall of Fame content behind the paywall, it'll all be on the $5 tier as long as it's audio. For people who are interested in wrestling history isn't going to die on this show. That's not happening.
No.
A lot of people don't have any respect for history or don't care about history. That's never going to happen here. Okay, I could tell you that right now. If anything, I'm going to work to keep the flame alive on the history of wrestling and on historical content, because somebody has to do it. And I think there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be enjoyed over the entire history of wrestling. So, and this Wrestling 101 is part of that. And the whole reason that I chose that match of the week is because Steamboat and Youngblood are on the Hall of Fame ballot. And I wanted to expose people to their biggest match and their biggest angle. And then I spent time watching through the Briscoe feud, because that was something I wasn't particularly well versed in.
Yeah, I had no idea. I honestly, I don't think I ever knew that entire story even existed of them.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the Briscoes turned heel, and I knew about a year later they'd make the backdoor deal with McMahon and go there, and then Jack threw his hands and said, "I can't work for this fucking guy," and just disappear. And then we all know the rest. Like Jerry stays and becomes, a mainstay there as part of their office for years and years. But I never really dove deep on the matches in the feud. And I got to tell you that, Steamboat and Youngblood came across much better to me in the Briscoe feud than they did in the Kernodle Slaughter feud. The Kernodle Slaughter feud, I thought Slaughter carried the whole fucking thing.
I agree. Yeah. And that's that. I went and watched that entire feud a bunch of years ago, and that made me a Sergeant Slaughter Hall of Fame voter from that point forward, because I was always like, yeah, there's some stuff, and then I watched that. I've seen the Final Conflict match, but I never watched the entire feud.
The build up.
Yeah, watching the build up, you're like, oh my God, Sergeant Slaughter's like the main reason this entire thing is the business success it's going to be. I mean, those other guys are playing their roles, but goddamn, he's carrying them to different levels.
Yeah, no, Slaughter carries that feud with the promos. He carries the feud in the ring. He's the best performer in the blow off match at Final Conflict to me. Even though Steamboat's in there and he's an all timer, I thought Slaughter, the match just explodes when Slaughter is in the ring. I thought he really carried that feud, and it really. And then when I watched the Briscoe stuff with Steamboat and Youngblood, I think Steamboat and Youngblood come across much better in that feud. And I'll tell you this, the Briscoes are on the ballot too as a tag team. I'm probably going to vote for them. I mean, I love them as heels. I'm not a big fan of them as a babyface tag team, but as a heel tag team, it is just, there's a certain smarm.
Oh, they're so subtle and smarm. It's just like the way
attitude.
The way they talk down those other teams. It just perfect. Like Jerry Briscoe is like, well, there's other teams out there, but I don't think they're as hell as good as we are.
They're not going to get out of there because we're just going to beat them all.
Right? He's like, they're real talented, they're real good, but we're better, and I know we're better. We're going to prove we're better. And like perfect. And it's like it sounds boring, but it's not. It's great because it's
the smirks on their face, and after. So Private Jim Nelson comes out after the turn. And listen, this is what I'm talking about, because this all calls back to when Jim Nelson turned on Slaughter,
right,
and taught all of Slaughter's secrets to Steamboat and Youngblood, right? So he's still buddies with them. Like, they haven't forgotten about that. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah, weird,
right? Like,
weird. Yeah, the stories matter and they last for years, and everybody doesn't get the Men in Black gun, and then the next month after the pay-per-view cycle, they just go to do their normal. No, it all matters. Right.
So Private Jim Nelson comes out to confront the Briscoes because he's like, hey, why'd you do this to my boy? Because they turned heel in a match against Steamboat and Youngblood, and he gave him the splash off the top while he was in the figure four and went after his leg and all that. So Nelson confronts him, and then they just and Jack, I don't remember if it's Jack or Jerry, but he's like, I'll kick your ass right now. And they have
I think that was Jerry. I'm pretty sure it was Jerry, yeah.
And then Jimmy Valiant comes out and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And then they
whoop his dumb ass.
They look at each other and smile and then just punch him in the stomach and beat the shit out of him. And they leave him laying. And it's like, these guys are fucking great. They're tremendous as heels, And it's funny because they're known as these great technical wrestlers, and they are. But
they're brawling in these matches. These are great. I love these matches.
But that adds to their heel routine because they're not just these shortcut taking heels. They're also great wrestlers who can just beat you and kick your ass. Right. It adds another element to it. And those matches, I watched about 3 of them today. Briscoes versus Steamboat and Youngblood. All easy notebook, all easy 4-star plus. Just action bell to bell. Tremendous stuff. The Briscoe heel routine is just, it's just fantastic stuff. I just love those guys as heels. And anyway, I guess that's a decent transition into the Observer ballot, which we'll talk about last year, which dropped this week. So,
by the way, if you want the videos that we're talking about, the discussion we're talking about is happening in our Match of the Week channel at voicewrestling.com/Discord. And that's you can only access that channel if you're a Patreon member. So you're going to want to obviously do that. You're going to want to join the Discord and become a Patreon member so you can get those videos, enjoy those discussions, have the back and forth. But yeah, it hooked me. Same way it hooked you.
So what I've got up is the Final Conflict match, and then this great YouTube playlist called The Road to Greensboro, which recaps the entire feud between Kernodle and Slaughter and Steamboat and Youngblood. And then I also linked in there this tremendous 1.5-hour video, which chronicles the entire Briscoe turn from start to finish, from, them just being humble baby faces, challenging the new champions or their pals for the titles, to sort of they're working as tweeners, and then they do the turn and all the angles, and then they eventually win the titles from Steamboat and Youngblood. And the other underrated thing about it is poor Bob Caudle, like the way he changes in the way that he reacts to the Briscoes throughout the whole thing, because the one conducting all the interviews. And at first he's, oh, you guys are going to have a great technical matchup with Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood.
Yeah.
And then he's just so disgusted with their actions as the feud moves along, as they do these more, nefarious things as the feud moves along. So I thought Bob Caudle was tremendous during all of this too. But anyway, yeah, that's just the Wrestling 101, and now I guess we'll wrap things up with the Observer ballot here.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the Wrestling101.com if you want to get any of that. So, Wrestling Observer newsletter, Hall of Fame ballots have been released. All the other content about this is going to be going on at flagshippatreon.com. We do this every single year. I will do an intro and primer for you guys. Just kind of, here's some numbers. Here's who's new to the ballot. We're going to do a little bit of that here as well, but I do it extensively behind the paywall. And then, as usual, we're going to try to get some guests on and discuss these different regions. It's a little bit of a tight window this year because I think, the ballots, I thought the ballots were due November 5th. That's if you mail it. I am not mailing it to Campbell, California. I will be emailing it. So we have until the 15th. So that gives me a little bit more time. I had a little bit of a freak out that we only had until the 5th. But we got till November 15th. So we got plenty of time to do these. But we're going to have a lot of time to do all these shows because there is some new stuff going on in the ballot. So we've kind of explained the ballot before. I don't want to go into a ton of detail. You could probably find that out. But the ballot sent out major wrestling stars, past and present, major management figures in the industry, as well as writers and historians. The criteria for the Hall of Fame is a combination of drawing power, being a great in-ring performer, or excelling in one's field of pro wrestling, as well as having historical significance in a positive manner. A candidate should have either something to offer in all three categories, or be someone so outstanding in one or two of those categories that they deserve inclusion. And there's some other stuff about, you have to be in your 35th birthday and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'll get into more in the primer that I do behind the paywall. But the big change this year, and the one that we're going to have to talk about, and we're going to be talking about extensively in all the shows that we do, is that they've made a change with the tag teams. Dave has decided this. This is exactly what he says in the email. He says, quote, "The original idea is that if someone is in, they are in. And the idea of a two-time Hall of Famer made no sense. However, in certain situations, there were Hall of Fame tag teams where one person was already in, so the second person would have had to be on their own, such as in this election, Miguel Perez, Jerry Briscoe, and Akira Taue, rather than as part of a team, which would be their strongest argument. While we have always had tag teams, and there have always been tag team wrestlers who we have put in the ballot, we hadn't done so with single wrestlers. However, for teams like the Funk Brothers, Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel, Stevens and Pat Patterson, Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, or Baba and Inoki, where you're not putting them on the ballot because both members of the team are already in, but there are teams who should be considered only as the tag team, not for their entire career as singles run. So the best example we can bring up is Akira Taue. Let's bring him up. Akira Taue is a guy that we've argued a lot about on shows, whether he belongs in as a single star, whether his career is worthy enough as a singles guy to get in there, and he has not gotten in. He's been on the ballot for years and years and years and years, has never gotten in, but his greatest contribution to wrestling is his tag team with Kawada, the Holy Demon Army. Like, no doubt one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Nobody would dispute that. Nobody would argue with that. But the problem with Taue is every time you argue with him, people would bring up, well, yeah, Holy Demon Army. It's like, okay, yeah, but Kawada, once he was away from that team, was able to do all of his own, was able to be a tremendous pro wrestler on his own, and Akira Taue never quite did that. He never quite broke out on his own, doing his own sort of thing, so people just didn't vote him because there wasn't enough meat on the bones for Akira Taue by himself, even if he was a part of a legendary tag team, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. It makes a little more sense when you do it in long form. I'm just trying to do it kind of quickly here, but David's trying to kind of eliminate that by now saying, okay, now you can vote for tag teams, with the idea that you're voting on this tag team and not the singles run whatsoever with these tag teams. So you have, like, I'm going to bring up just a random example. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, okay, the Rockers. You are voting not saying, well, Shawn Michaels had he was the world champion, he did that. That doesn't matter. Shawn Michaels is already in. What he did, all you're caring about right now is what he did as a member of the Rockers with Marty Jannetty. Bret Hart is the same way. Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart are in this. It doesn't matter what Bret Hart did on his own. It is what Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart did as the Hart Foundation that matters in this ballot now and in this poll now. And that adds a whole new dynamic because it added a bunch of new teams to the mix. But what do you think overall about this tag team, inclusion here before we kind of get into the new teams that have been added or the new people that have been added?
I'm all for it. It's utterly ridiculous that teams like the Holy Demon Army and Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez aren't in the Hall of Fame simply because one member was already in and there was this weird rule where someone couldn't be put on the ballot again once they were already in. mean, that's utterly ridiculous. I mean, the Miguel Perez comparison is perfect because he didn't have any kind of anything near a Hall of Fame career, on his own. So nobody was going to vote for him as into the Hall of Fame just on the ballot as Miguel Perez. But his tag team with Antonino Rocca is one of the greatest drawing tag teams of all time, and they were a legitimate sellout draw in Madison Square Garden for years. And it's ridiculous to have a pro wrestling Hall of Fame without that tag team in the Hall of Fame. Same for Holy Demon Army with Kawada and Taue. And I was a Taue voter anyway, partially because and in large part because he was part of that all-time legendary tag team. But voting for the team itself will be an absolute no-brainer. So, and I just think it was weird to be not inclusive of these all-time great teams simply because one guy had a Hall of Fame worthy career independent of the team and one guy didn't. That's weird to me.
Right. And
there was a giant hole in this Hall of Fame regarding tag teams because some of the greatest tag teams of all time were not included because of this weird rule. And the rule really didn't make sense when you started having situations like Stan Lane going in with the Midnight Express and then going on the ballot as part of the Fabulous Ones. Well, it's like, and he's on the ballot. So it's just, it
got a little messy. It got a little messy there for a while. So it's smart.
So we may as well just put all these great teams on the ballot because it's just logical and it makes sense. It should have been this way from the beginning. From the beginning, it should have been. Now, I understand Antonino Rocca was just an automatic pick in 96, but just play, or maybe I'll use Toshiaki Kawada as my example. It should have been Toshiaki Kawada, Akira Taue, and the Holy Demon Army, all three on the ballot, right? And then that way, but it was never that way, so you can't really go back in time and fix that or reverse it, because to me, that's three independent acts. But Dave didn't see it that way at the time. But the consequence of that was then not having these great Hall of Fame tag teams even eligible to be in because no one's going to fucking vote for Marty Jannetty as a singles wrestler.
Right.
Okay, so, and I'm not suggesting I'm probably not going to vote for the Rockers.
I'm not voting
for the Rockers
either, but yeah.
No one's voting for Jim Neidhart. Okay, but you might vote for the Hart Foundation.
Well, nobody was voting for Miguel Perez for all those years.
And Miguel Perez, and rightfully so. And
you'd be irresponsible to not vote for Rocca and Perez, though, or even Taue. I was not a Taue voter, but there's no way in hell you could not vote for the Holy Demon Army. And
it's weird because, like, the Road Warriors are a slam dunk, but, like, if you put Hawk and Animal on the ballot separately, you wouldn't vote for them.
Oh, God, no.
You're voting for the Road Warriors. So it isn't fair to these other great Hall of Fame worthy tag teams that they were not even on the ballot at any point simply because Dave kind of had this weird rule. So the bottom line is it's fixed. It's corrected. It's going to throw a new wrinkle in the voting. I think one of the byproducts of this, at least this year, a lot of these teams, Rocca and Perez, Holy Demon Army, the Briscoes, maybe some of the others, they're going to siphon so many votes, even with the ability to vote for a few more people this year. You get the extra 3 votes in the U.S. historical, okay? But you're limited to only a max of 5 in the other categories.
Yeah, it's going to be those other categories are bloodbaths now. It's going to
No, so here's what's going to happen, and I think it's a good thing. I think what's going to happen is all of these tag teams are going to siphon a lot of the votes because there's so many that deserve it, right? And because of the cap on some of the other categories, we're finally going – I think there's going to be a lot of people that fall under the 10% this year, and that's a good thing.
That's that bloodbath that I'm talking about is like those dudes are – there's a lot of those hanger-ons that we've –
ballot's bloated.
Yeah, we've always said that there's these like – I mean, dude, these guys are getting 13% every single year. Like there's just no point in having this guy be on the ballot anymore. Like, let's get him out of here. And this might be that year that those guys, Trish Stratus, probably going to fall off the ballot, and that rightfully so. She's been getting 11% for like back and forth for years and years and years. We're done with that. Let's move on. Naomi Shimura-Fuji, like, sorry, Belle, you're not making it. It's time to let things go. So I'm with you. I like that idea. That's where that bloodbath's going to come in. Is I think like a lot the drop off is going to be huge for a lot of these people, and that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. And that's what you want because the ballot's way too bloated right now. hopefully a lot of people will fall off this year that, we're just hanging around with like 20% or whatever, that are never really getting in. But
we did lose a lot last year. I don't know if you saw the list.
We did, yeah.
I'll talk about it obviously when I do the primer, but I mean, I think like 15 or 20 people dropped off, like a lot of your like, hangers on, your bottom, your Buddy Colts and your, Stephanie McMahons and your Rick Martel. I mean, Rick Martel I was like, all right, Rick Martel's never going to get on there. Like, who are these people that are still, the 11% of people that were still voting for Rick Martel, but that's not. So they lost a lot there, and I think we're going to lose even more this year, which, again, to some people might seem like harsh, but it's good. Like, this is the Hall of Fame. This is the best of the best, the elite of the elite, and it's just, it makes it's just more annoying that there's like 15 people in every single category. There doesn't need to be. There's not all those people are worthy of the Hall of Fame, and Dave puts them on there because it's interesting to put it up for a vote and see where people go. But like, yeah, a lot of these people hang on with like 10% or 11% or whatever, and it's just like, no, these people do not belong. They're never going to get in. We got to move on with these people and move them up or move them out, and that's hopefully what's happening these next few years. So
it's interesting that he added all these tag teams, and I still wish he would split up Kojima and Tenzan.
I know.
And I still wish he would split up Hall and Nash. I think Hall and Nash have better cases on their own than specifically as the team. And Tenzan and Kojima as well. So it's interesting. Some guys have a better chance if they're part of a team, and I think some guys have better chance if they're split away from their team. Roman Reigns is back on after his big run. We'll see how he does. Becky Lynch is on this year. This is outside of the tag teams. But a lot of people back on the ballot, like Mr. Wrestling 2 just fell off, but now he's back on in the tag team with Mr. Wrestling and Mr. Wrestling 2. So there's that. And then there's the teams we talked about where one partner was never getting in on their own, like the Hart Foundation or Raka and Perez, or, Taue was making some headway, but now he's just going to be on there as part of the team. Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith is another one. And Harley Race and Larry Hennig. Larry Hennig, had been on the ballot before and he didn't get in. Octagon is now on there as a team, as part of a team, because he was on there as a single with El Hijo del Santo. Dusty Rose and Dick Murdoch fell off. He's on there with Dick Murdoch. So it's going to require a lot more research if you're a voter, but I do think this is a good thing. The other day, somebody in our Slack was asking about the East-West connection, Adonis and Ventura. Trying to think who it was who asked about them. But at any rate, that led me down a wormhole into researching Adonis and Ventura and their run in the AWA. And I came away from that research a little more impressed than I was with just off the top of my head with what I knew about them in terms of, how many they headlined way more shows than I thought they did. And I watched a bunch of their matches. So the thing you always say about the Hall of Fame is it's not, if you don't care about the Observer Hall of Fame,
it's dumb. It's dumb and it's stupid and it doesn't matter, but the discussions matter. The research matters.
Yeah. And you learn things. Right. So even if you don't care about the Hall of Fame or value it at all, it makes you think about these people, and then you get some great audio out of it. From us, and we'll do that again. And I'm sure Dave will do some audio, and you learn things about wrestling and wrestling history that you didn't know previously. If Adonis and Ventura never went on the ballot, I never would have done that research the other day. And now I'm more curious about them because now they're on my radar. Whereas before I was like, I'll never vote for them. But then a little bit of, surface level research, and I'm being, hold on a minute. They main evented a lot of shows, and some of them with 5-figure attendances. And, now maybe I need to dig a little deeper, and maybe I need to watch the matches and the promos. And I probably still won't vote for them, but now they're in my vision. Yeah. And I'm learning things.
Well, and just in general, I mean, tag team wrestling is so important to the history of wrestling as well. I mean, and there's been periods where, major American wrestling has kind of downplayed it, or it just hasn't mattered, or it just hasn't been that important. But man, it go through the history of wrestling, especially in different territories and whatnot, like tag teams were it. I mean, they were such a big deal and such an important thing. And yeah, they deserve inclusion in this, and these teams that are just overwhelming. Great. It's not like there hasn't been tag teams before, but it's going to lead us, down a path of doing some really, really fun research about some of the great tag teams of all time. And that's, there's nothing ever wrong with that. And a lot of times in the past, and it's something I've kind of fought back on, we've been doing audio and stuff. People would say, well, the Holy Demon Army, and I would say, well, I know, yeah, I'm bringing up Taue again. And I would tend to just not care about that all that much and say, well, let's look at his single stuff because I'm voting him in as a singles guy, not necessarily as a tag team guy. And that was kind of how the ballot made you sort of think about it. And now you don't really have to think about that way. You can say, well, you know what? Who the fuck cares what this guy did on his own or when they broke up or whatever? It doesn't matter that Jerry Briscoe, thought Vince McMahon was an idiot and stopped wrestling or whatever. And now it matters what he did as the Briscoes. And the Briscoes were fucking tremendous and great. And it seems weird and it seems strange, but there's just a different thought exercise that you have to do with that. And when you think about these guys strictly in their tag teams, their career does become a little bit more clear and a little bit more obvious. And you're not necessarily looking to ding them for any other reasons. You just kind of say, well, hey, was this tag team worthy of the Hall of Fame? And if they are, then yeah, then put them in. There's no need to say, well, what happened afterwards or what happened before? No, it only matters if that tag team was just overwhelmingly deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, and that's what you have to look at, and that's what you have to research. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of candidates. I'm not going to break them down all on here. I'll do that, obviously, at flagshippatreon.com. I want to do that primer episode. But, yeah, it's a really, really fun ballot this year. Just real quickly, if you need a little bit of a catch-up, last year, Okada got voted in on his first ballot, as he should. Jim Crockett Jr. got in after a long time on the fence there. Don Owen, a guy that you voted for a very long time, finally got on. And Los Brazos also made it on. So 4 guys made it on, and then a bunch of dudes dropped off, as we said. But yeah, I'll get into the nuts and bolts and the details of the ballot, as I said, in that primer that I'll do at flagshippatreon.com. That should be coming out pretty soon. And then, yeah, you and I are going to discuss, who to bring on and what to do and schedule these shows, but you're going to get some great audio. And again, Joe mentioned it there, and I'll mention it again. If you don't care about the Hall of Fame, that's fine. If you care about wrestling history, if you care about educating yourself on wrestling history, that's what it's all about. We're talking about some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, the greatest matches of all time, the greatest promos of all time, that sort of stuff. That's what it's all about. It's about that research. I don't ultimately care if a guy gets in or not. I won't lose sleep if any of these teams that I voted for don't make it into the Hall of Fame. But it's just fun to sit down and, like you said, do what you did with the Northwest or East-West connection, where you would never have thought of them ever again. You would have never thought of them, never done a deep dive into them whatsoever. But now you had to for the purposes of this, and that's what it's all about: educating yourself, learning about wrestling history. That's what Wrestling 101 is, and that's what the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame is as well. So there you go. And as you said, history will never die on this show. You might want it to die. You might say, who cares about this stuff? We care, and we're always going to care. So we're always going to cover the NWA. And we're always going to cover wrestling history, and you can't stop it. Maybe those are one and the same in a lot of ways, but that is that. So, Joe, anything else on the ballot?
No.
We'll have plenty of discussions about that. Plenty of hours and hours and hours of audio discussing those names many, many times. So that is it for us on this week's episode of the Flagship Podcast. Of course, voicesofwrestling.com for previews, reviews, columns, all that other good stuff. TheWrestling101.com if you want to follow that project as well. Voicesofwrestling.com/Discord if you want to join our Discord channel. We mentioned that Match of the Week and other stuff going on there as well. FlagshipPatreon.com, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. You can subscribe, $5 tier, $10 tier. $10 opens up everything, including live instant reactions, live flagships, all the written content we do. $5 gets you all of the audio that we do. And then, yeah, that is about it. Oh, YouTube. YouTube, of course. We said we're trying to put a little bit more love into our YouTube channel. Of course, make sure you subscribe, like, share all those videos. And then subscribe to the Flagship Podcast on your podcast app of choice. And we also have the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network feed as well. So we would recommend subscribing to both of those. The network feed gets you all the shows that we do on the network. Flagship feed obviously gets you just the flagship. But subscribe to both of those. Why not? Get our numbers up. We want to be number one, not only in Turkey and the Isle of Man, but Barbados too. We're coming for you. Who's ever number one in Barbados? Find out who's number one in Barbados. We know who to get after and beat. But that is it for us. So anyway, for Joe, I'm Rich. We'll talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.